Hello, hello. We are here with ProBots Season 1 of 2024. We are at the semifinals. How's it going?
Oh, it's going well. I'm excited. I was doing some other esports stuff last weekend, and
Nice.
so I'm excited to see StarCraft again. I
It's a
love
good,
working in general, but
it's a good
passion,
esport.
yeah,
Yeah,
passion games. It just makes me miss
yeah,
StarCraft.
yeah, totally. Totally the case. And we say that we're in the semifinal, but we're kind of not. So we've got
A little bit of a lie.
yeah, a little bit of a lie, a little bit of a lagger. So we had a incident last week that we weren't sure what the cause of was, that CatRock and Micro Machine were crashing whenever they tried to play. We originally credited that crash with CatRock as it appeared from the error logs. Something was wrong, but it turned out that that's not the case. So we're going to have basically a reconciliation of that, and so we're going to start things off with this match, CatRock and Micro Machine.
Yeah, so I'll have one quarters match, which will be a best of
Yeah,
three. That's CatRock Micro Machine.
and then next week and May 18th, we're going to have our finals, which will be a best of 7, along with some other fun stuff like our normal humans versus bots show match,
And all that
which
will
will
start noon 30.
noon
Noon
30.
30
Yeah,
EST.
indeed. So yeah, that's indeed how we got here. And yeah, so I think this is going to end or add a little time to things depending on how these go, because CatRock Micro Machine games are often not short. But most TVTs are not really.
I was saying, unless someone's like proxy for racks,
Yeah,
everything is on the map, then it
yeah,
might end fast. But yeah, the bots like to build their big armies and
yeah,
their air armies, and so I could see this taking a while.
yeah. They do seem to enjoy that sort of shenanigans.
Ravens,
Uh,
Vikings, or BC, whatever it
yeah.
is, it's a large clump in the air.
Very true. So I think then can we get a look at the stats of our two competitors for the quarters? Yeah. Okay. Brackets first. We'll see how
Brackets
we got
first.
here.
Brackets
It
first.
may be
Slow down.
bracket may be missing a leg, or it shows the winner there in the Micro Machine CatRock. That's what we credited it with, thinking that CatRock had crashed. That turned out not to be the case. But Tier T, the Terran, advancing 2-1 over Sharkbot, is waiting for the winner of this CatRock Micro Machine. I guess I would say rematch, but it's just
Like first match,
a
yeah.
retry, a reattempt at a match. And on the other side, BenBot besting of Phobos, which was yet another Terran bot, the reincarnation of Eris, the old Zerg champion. But BenBot is the one to advance, and then Zozo beating out Xena, the random bot. Zozo, the only non-Terran in our final four. Really final five, but the other two are both Terrans, so it's going to be a Terran either way.
Guaranteed, yeah.
Yeah,
TVT.
so that should be interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited to see some Zozo. The I feel like every time I see Zozo, I think it's the probe guy, and then I think that like, didn't they lose? And I feel like every
Yeah,
single time it's like a game
yeah.
three that like could go either way. The Zealot kills one thing that finally like changes
Yeah.
the scales. So yeah, I'm excited to see how close that match is. Not to get too far ahead of us because that is our last match. CatRock Micro Machine should be an interesting match as well. TVTs are always just fun to see like exactly how the unit micro works out, because sometimes it's like really close, or
Yeah.
sometimes it's like this bot gets it and this bot doesn't, and the fight just looks so rough for
Yeah.
either the Marines trying to micro too hard, or the tank setups are weird. So it'll be interesting to see how these two match up.
Indeed, it will. Yeah, Micro Machine has been around forever. CatRock has been around for quite a while now, but Micro Machine, I think, literally was in our very first season,
Let's go.
where it basically literally only made Marines and just walked them across the map. Advanced a lot from there. But yeah, if we could look at stats if we have them,
Or at the very least pictures.
or are we
That's
jumping?
all I
Yeah,
care
either
about.
the pictures are cool. Yeah. Or maybe we're just jumping right in. Either way, surprise me. Either jump into the game or show some stats. I'm happy either way. We both know that these are high level, whatever.
Yeah, we can just make up some numbers. You can make up the date.
Yeah, whatever. While chilling, check out ProBotsAI.com. If you want to support things, find out about bot making. That's where we're going to have links to be able to play against the bots for the exhibition coming up next weekend. So yeah, check that out for the tools and templates and etc. Also in the description of this video, if you're watching later, there should be a links to templates if you want to get started on making your own bots and give it a try. And also check out AI Arena.
If you're in chat right now, also
Yeah.
let us know who you think is going to win or who you want to win. You know, if it's an educated guess, if it's just your heart's, you know, you really want one Protoss to keep going, you know, let us know in chat.
Yeah.
Cheer your boats on, all that good stuff.
Yeah. You got to cheer on boats. It's what keeps them afloat, really.
Put the boats in chat.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure where we are here. Are we ready to go on it, or you put graphics up? I'm happy either way. Oh, now we just get a timer started. Okay. Well, huh? Drek tries to say something to me, but it keeps getting cut off.
Cool pictures.
All right, so here we go.
Cool pictures.
Here, the Raven, the three-eyed Raven, CatRock here, with the ELO of 1973 and a win rate of 64%. CatRock, just the Raven really does exemplify the CatRock mentality or philosophy.
Or unit decision.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just literal play style.
He loves Ravens.
Yeah, going late game, making the Ravens, dropping turrets, just kind of controlling things, slowing down the pace of the game. CatRock is a super patient bot that does quite well.
And kind of an intelligent flyer. You know, BCs feel like very brawn over brains, where Ravens are kind of the opposite, you know?
Yeah.
They're really smart birds. They're kind of small, but the Vikings and Ravens, the Ravens are just so weird with the bot AI and how they decide to go against auto turrets and all that jazz.
Yeah, it's a really hard one to figure out. And then coming to us from the sea, it is Micro Machine chilling with his trident underwater with the shark and his ELO at 1938. Micro Machine hasn't really been updated very much at all in the past while, but is still kind of like the gold standard of, I mean, obviously he's here in the quarterfinals yet again and has just won a lot despite the fact that it's kind of not being actively updated so much anymore, just kind of being kept running. So yeah, definitely a good one, a strong one.
Yeah, super impressive. Just to, because I feel like some of these bots get changed like almost every time that they're able to.
Yeah.
You know, like every upcoming match, they kind of have to put in a new code for.
Yeah.
I know this guy likes to work a rush, or I like this. No, this bot likes to go for these kind of units. I want to be able to, you know, work around that. So to be able to make it to quarters and kind of just have the same bot go the entire way is super impressive.
Micro Machine came up with a basic strategy in like 2018, and we're still just chilling with that.
Just coasting.
like it's basically that. It was just a good one of like, why don't I make things and attack with them like a lot, and then macro behind it. That seems to be the basic thing, and it works most of the time. So
well, we'll see if it works again with this kind of rematch of CatRock versus Micro Machine to see who plays Thai RT.
Micro Machine. CatRock.
Oh, okay. So, is this what went wrong? Is CatRock just never made anything?
Yeah, it's a little unclear what has happened here, but yeah, he's not. Nothing is in the production tab.
And you kind of wait for like the
Yeah.
certain checkpoints of the minerals. They don't spend it on the
Yeah.
first 150. All right, 400, they're putting down a CC for sure.
Yeah.
And then the 400 comes, and you're like, all right, like quadruple racks across at like 600. You try to come up with scenarios that it would make any sort of sense to bank this much. But yeah, at 1,000 minerals, I think it's fairly safe to say that this was not supposed to.
No, it
happen.
doesn't seem like it is, and the fact I don't know whether the SCV was just not rallied or pulled off. Like it seems like that SCV was probably meant to be the builder, and then it has not done that.
Because you start with 12 workers, right?
He changed direction. So he's now facing us because we were talking about him.
His ears got red.
Yeah.
Okay, so you start with 12 workers, right? So like 2 workers were built
Yeah.
at some time.
Yeah.
But then something between those 2 workers being built and the rest of the game, there's just some disconnect. Because like I wonder why the worker production would end. Like the buildings I kind of get if, I don't know, positionings are off or something gets like checked off when it shouldn't be.
I guess there's certain things that you can just hard code in, which would be like, because it's so early, if you said build 2 workers, then build a supply depot, then build the other worker once it starts, then that would make sense.
Oh, if there's
to
like
just,
a conditional
hard
code.
Just hard code that in because no one can disrupt that. It's too early.
Yeah.
But yeah, so maybe that's what happened. But this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Which is so the Reapers are going to kill this. So it's not entirely. I did also notice that the command center itself was rallied
across the map.
It was rallied across the map, and that's a little odd. This guy went out somewhere. Yeah, and so I think he was gonna proxy something.
Yeah, had some sort of proxy set up in mind.
And then something didn't happen. But even then, would you proxy? Because no supply depot started. So would you proxy the depot? So I don't know whether someone was intended to build a depot at home and then that was going to build a barracks.
Well, and with like
and now he's rebuilding. So with the workers dead. Actually, with the workers dead.
Changes.
Yeah, with the workers dead and that proxied SCV dead, it then resumed. So, I think it had some intention of doing something, and that halted process stopped the entire thing. Also, at some point there, he must have canceled something because he ended up with an uneven number of minerals. He ended up with, this. Oh, okay, it was repairing. Never mind.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we do have a spoiler that I think I'm allowed to open now. So I'm going to check it out. Okay. CatRock's back. Okay, that's what I was going to say. On Equilibrium, I think with the map layout, because it's a non-angled, symmetry, it has both the bases on top. Yeah. And so kind of figuring out where your base is compared to your opponents and where to proxy might get messed up. So I'll read this real quick. Yeah. Last week, Micro Machine caused problems in games against CatRock. Certain matches, he'll have a memory leak causing games not to run. Because of game 1, it was surmised originally it was CatRock, but under investigation, CatRock is just bugged on certain maps, but serious problems goes to Micro Machine. The definitive cause of Micro Machine's problem is unknown, but speculated that it might have to do with recent updates of maps/patches and Micro Machine staying the same. So with all the praise we gave Micro Machine of never updating and being able to kind of coast on the same, programming, something got messed up with new maps or new updates, patches. Something like that.
Yeah, so I guess you still have to, they haven't done major work in changing, strategy approach, whatever, but you still definitely have to keep it up to date on just making the maps work. The game itself has been patched. Mm-hmm. The behavior of units and some things like that is different. So things like that, I think, do have to be kept up to date or else it just won't run.
Yeah, we'll see if hopefully CatRock builds something.
Okay,
it'll be another little bit before the next match.
Okay,
CatRock's still banking up the minerals, really saving up for this next one.
Yeah, that's the key. That's the key. You got to go in rich.
In Melee, we always talk about multi-game conditioning, multi-set conditioning. It's just you lure them in, let them take a game or two. get
Yeah.
him used to you
False
not
sense
building
of
anything.
confidence.
Yeah, there we go.
Exactly.
So CatRock's evolved to the level of mind games, and this is past just raw, ability. This is going into the mind of Micro Machine.
Yeah, I think that's the key. You gotta undermine their confidence. Like let them think that it's just easy to take over, and you can also make them repeat. One thing that is kind of a mind trick with bots often is if they have multiple builds and they win, they're gonna potentially
same
choose
one.
the same build again. Yeah. And they do, especially some of the ones that decide what to do kind of like algorithmically, um, that they'll look back in rates and then see what they're gonna pick. And they'll actually make the decision based on that. So which is also, by the way, when we release the thing for you guys to play against the bots, some of the bots have a memory, and some people submit games that are not their first game played against the bot,
baloney. Yeah.
and we can tell. So it's more fun when people submit the first thing. Sometimes you have to kind of get it set up. So when you install it, what it does is it opens up like two versions of the client, and you sometimes have to like set your hotkeys and set your settings and stuff like that because it'll open as a window that you have to play in. But you can set it full screen and you can set it to do all this stuff. So you may have to run it once to get used to it. But if you're doing that, play against a bot that you don't really intend to play, and then switch once you've got your settings, then switch to the one that you do want to play because it will change how they play. Because
or
it'll
like,
be
don't
like
do your build order. Don't be playing at full.
exactly.
Make sure
Just
that it
load
works,
in and quit.
and then
Yeah. And then because otherwise it can change what it does and whatever. And some of them will straight up call you out for it. That it'll just say in chat like, "Hey, this is human. I'm already 2-0 against you."
Yeah, why are we still playing?
Yeah. So like, what's this all about? So whatever. So hopefully we get some good submissions for that. We got some good ones last time. There was the guy, I forget his name now, but I should remember it because it was fun. He did the all century stuff.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and that was fun. I like it because we get a lot of people now that play like their GM player, and I think most GMs are going to be able to still beat these things.
Yeah.
But to kind of play in a more fun way or like set a challenge for yourself to like, I'm going to beat them doing this sort of thing to really kind of test their limits. Because I think, if you're a GM and you just play straight up, you're probably still going to crush it just
Hopefully.
on
Yeah,
strategy. Yeah.
It almost reminds me of Beastie Cutie back when I first. So I started very late in StarCraft, admittedly. It was like 2018, 2019 or something.
Okay.
But when I first started, Beastie Cutie's 50 builds to Protoss Grandmaster, he'd have a little virtual wheel that he'd spin, and it'd be like all sentries or never attack or, expand 3 times before like gateway.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be super fun to try to beat these bots with some weird limitations or,
Yeah,
different
I
ways of
always
playing.
found that stuff so fun. I don't know if you ever watched like Day 9 used to always do the Fun Day Monday
The fun
thing.
day. I was way too late for it. All
Yeah.
my friends that I like met through StarCraft
Yeah.
all rave, that's the
Yeah.
fun stuff. And I was like,
Yeah. I
a
used to
generation
do,
late.
I used to do one of those, or like those whenever you give them out. And there was one that, like, I think a bunch of us tied on. Like, the idea was to do a manor nexus, which is basically building a nexus in your opponent's base,
hell yeah.
as early as possible and still win the game. And then I think there were like 20 of us that all submitted with the earliest mathematically possible nexuses. So you had to just start the game, send the probe out, and like the earliest that you could get in their base and save up the 400 minerals, it went down.
like
So
Nexus first in their base.
yeah, and then ultimately still win the game, which I did with like DTs or something. But yeah,
Amazing.
that sort of thing of like playing with constraints on, it makes it more fun. Like
Yeah.
you have to figure out how to do things. Like ways around it. There was one they used to do, and I forget the name of it exactly, but they would do it in the GSL studio, where they would have players come in and they give them some crazy condition, and then they had to. It had to be like, you need to win using Viking medevac. and like Liquid Sheth was there at the time, and he played like a game against like not pro but like a high level player where he did Viking drops where he was loading
Yeah.
loading them into the medevacs and dropping the Vikings as landed units and stuff. And another time MC, I think it was, had to play in a bear suit. Like
Oh,
he was
jeez.
literally in a mascot costume and
Yeah.
had to play, and another player had to play using chopsticks. So he could only
That's
press the
insane.
keyboard using chopsticks.
Chopsticks might be the hardest of all those.
Yeah,
That's kind of
that was
crazy.
pretty intense. That
I
was
know
pretty
Print
intense.
F, just on his own stream, has done keyboard only.
Yeah.
He'll do like Blink Stalker micro with like click
Yeah.
presses on the keys. Just insane stuff. All right, I
Yeah.
think we're good with the
Okay.
second match of CatRock Micro Machine. Hopefully, slightly longer than this last match. I don't want it too long of a match, but like 5 minutes is fine.
Yeah, something like that's good. All right, let's see.
Micro Machine. CatRock.
We have buildings.
We do a bunch of them in a little line.
Oh, and I love the idea of a Reaper wall. I feel like we don't
Yeah.
even see this at high level. I mean, I don't know if it's like good, leaving
Yeah.
your normal ramp open, but it's interesting to have a Reaper wall in a TVT.
Yeah, I think because Micro Machine tends to go with the Reaper move, then I think it's a good idea. I'm not sure whether usually you do see it the other way, as I think the observer was pointing out there. It's kind of like sideways, but that's fine.
Yeah,
We'll see. Let's see if it works.
Interesting. We have the Reaper wall and then the bunker. I think that's the bunker in the natural, just like super far out, kind of by itself. And so I feel like it's gonna be it's a weird decision to figure out where you want to like pool your troops, kind of, if you have like all your stuff on one side and then your defense not near any of your stuff. But I guess once he takes the expansion, it'll be a little bit more normal and filled out. But right now it just looks a little funky in my head.
Yeah, definitely. And he's got these buildings off to the side here, kind of in a good like drop catcher type of place, but also in kind of a off to the side region,
almost like scouting pylons or something.
Yeah, exactly. So at least again, both appear to be working, so that's good.
Yeah, it's a great start that buildings are going down. So we got the 1-1-1 from CatRock getting pretty quickly into tech, and then Micro Machine going a little bit greedier of a build. Already has their second CC completely done and floated over, but slower tech obviously, and a little bit more marine focused than getting into factory and starport and stuff.
We've seen this a little bit sometimes out of Micro Machine and other bots too, where it is doing like the Reaper dance because it wants to go somewhere, but it knows that there's a bunker there and it won't approach it. But then it like takes a step away and then is like, well, that's far away. And then it walks towards it and then takes a step away. And it just kind of does that in the repeated pattern. And it kind of wants to get up there, but it can't get up there.
I'll just add, I feel like especially with the way that the pathing is blocked. I feel like already the Reaper sometimes will look like this without a Reaper wall, with just like how the AI considers stuff. But yeah, with the Reaper wall and the bunker, it's really it's got nowhere to go. And I think 2 Reapers were made, right?
Yeah.
And so this is kind of a nice start
one
from
of them,
CatRock.
Yeah, one of them did wander off. Yeah, it's like scouting around or doing something.
Yeah, I love the start from CatRock. I feel like in the opening builds, I mean, they definitely have a slower second base, but to have the Reaper wall and then Micro Machine go into Reapers, at least semi, feels pretty good. CatRock going into the Banshee, the Cloak Banshee, with that kind of tech lead. So we'll see if we can get some damage done. Because, I mean, he doesn't like need to do it a ton of damage, but with how the builds start off, Micro Machine will have that kind of economic advantage. So CatRock will have to leverage his technology to, counteract that a bit.
Yeah, and it's whether it's a result of like the Reapers not getting in and doing anything. Micro Machine is like fairly passive for what you'd usually expect from him, and it is CatRock going on the offensive first with the Banshee that's going to try and sneak in here, and he's switching into, of course, Raven behind it.
The profile picture itself.
Yes, indeed.
Which will be really useful, not only with the normal antics of throwing down a cajillion auto turrets at a time, but with Micro Machine's own Banshees researching Cloak, that Raven at home will be super useful for that first Banshee attack.
Yeah. Here his Marines will move in. They were tentative to do so at first, so Cyclone.
It came back in.
Yeah. The Cyclone there, 8 kills, pretty good. Taking out a fair chunk of that mineral line. Like you said, he had to get some worker economic damage done, and he did manage to do that. I'm not sure if the Micro Machine Cyclones totally know what patch they're on and stuff. And they still seem to work, but the way that they behave is maybe a little old. Because,
they think they have more range or something? Or...
Yeah, like in the way the lock-ons work changed and like just fire rates and whatever. So it kind of moving in and then backing off and then re-engaging, maybe an artifact of that.
I love that scan.
Yeah.
I feel like I at least don't remember seeing a ton of scans from the tanks to try to get the vision. I feel like, especially with CatRock, they usually have air dominance anyway with the Viking Raven setup that they like to go for. But yeah, that scan, because if anybody doesn't know, tanks can shoot further than they can see, kind of like Tempests. And so getting vision, you can actually kind of win those tank fights if your opponent doesn't have vision. So being able to push Micro Machine pretty much fully off of this little choke that Micro Machine was going to try to kind of contain CatRock in seems very nice. But Micro Machine is already expanding to that third location, so still staying ahead on that economic game just a bit.
Yeah, he's going to move in here again now, but looks like he is backing off of it. But the Banshee is looking for somewhere to go. There's a Raven right on his tail, but there's nothing that could shoot him just yet. Vikings come in.
Go back!
Volley once and then just leave it alone.
Oh, that's annoying. Especially if the Raven keeps following, because, I was going to say, eventually the Banshee's going to go back under the Marines, I assume. So at least the Raven leaves it alone, but to not kill the Banshee is just a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, because it will be back. It will get repaired, and it will come back. CatRock is going pretty heavy Banshee himself, making 3 at a time at the moment, which is a bit more, not totally like uncharacteristic. He does do that, but not something that we've seen as much as of late. But Banshee versus Banshee can be a fun, high damage, low survivability sort of fight.
Yeah. Well, and it's just such a weird one because it's not like Viking versus Viking or Phoenix versus Phoenix, where you kind of like trade with each other. It's like
they
getting the damage in and running away, and like who's better at poking and prodding and being annoying while avoiding the Marines or Vikings or whatever you have, to kill it.
Yeah, there, that one taken
0
out.
kills.
No kills on that. It came close, but had to skedaddle away.
I love these updates from CatRock. Basically the battle report, but for each individual unit as it dies. Is kind of sweet from a casting position. All right, some lone Cyclones kind of pushing in. I guess everything's coming across the map, just very disjointed.
Yeah, it does seem so. Nice tank shots here, though, as he walks down into the dangerous low ground. And overall, like, supply within 1, workers a little bit in Micro Machine's favor, army supply reasonably similar. CatRock has more kind of sturdy on the ground stuff.
Well, it's weird. I feel like CatRock has more like tank, but less Marine, but also more Viking. So I feel like CatRock is way more comfortable in the air and on the ground, which for the supplies being as close as they are, feels like that shouldn't be the, like he should be losing on the ground or the air or something, but it feels like the way that the armies are composed, I feel like CatRock just feels comfortable everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. It looks a lot stronger in his favor. I think the Cyclones aren't super effective in the way that they're working at the moment. While they could have some opportunity when there's a lot of tanks on the ground, they do lose some effectiveness for sure.
Yeah, it's just like CatRock having the Banshee, Viking, tank lead and Raven. I feel like those are the units that really, really matter unless you're going to have a crazy bio ball. If Micro Machine had like 20 Marines, 30, 40 Marines, then maybe that would be, you don't have to have all the other units. Yeah. But with like a couple Marines, a couple Cyclones, a couple Reapers, it doesn't amount to much, I feel like, that army supply.
Yeah, and CatRock's still getting the damage done on the side there too, with the Banshees kind of sneaking in, doing their own thing, whereas Micro Machines' Banshees are largely seeming to stick with the army, so they're not getting economic damage done at the same time.
Yeah, and now that CatRock has kind of pushed across the map, kind of started slow and really got a strong unit composition up and got all those numbers of the important units ahead of Micro Machine. Now CatRock's just expanding like crazy at home. Already up to, what is that, 6 base against the 4 of Micro Machine?
Yeah, definitely. CatRock will quite aggressively take bases, and as he establishes them, tends to use the planetary fortresses to really secure those locations, make it costly to ever try and take them back.
Yeah, if you do a run by, you have to do it with like half your army, or you're just throwing away units.
Yeah. Here we get the turrets in a forward position here, drawing the Cyclone fire.
One of the smallest herds of ravens I've ever seen. Or what is it? Murder of... That's crows. I don't know if it's ravens
crows,
too.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're...
I don't know what ravens are.
Yeah.
But usually CatRock has about like 35 ravens and 70 auto turrets. But 3 or 4 still do the trick, kind of distract the Cyclones and some of the DPS.
Yeah. What's funny is one Cyclone killing a turret is basically the time it takes for the turret to expire.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a useless gesture anyway.
It's always a weird kind of math equation you're doing in your head of like, do I leave it and let it die, or do I like waste like 100 minerals to have some zealots fight it? Like what how you want to actually really go about these units with timers. Same with locusts. Do you want to fight? Do you want to run away? How fast do you kill them? A lot of things kind of come into the equation.
Yeah, for sure. He's doing a little better here now. I think maybe it looked like he was starting to get a good like concave to maybe push back some of the Vikings and have Cyclones help, but then the ground kind of got cleared up there, and then the Vikings are on their own again.
Yeah, the CatRock tanks are definitely coming in super clutch, because I feel like Micro Machines Vikings are starting to take over.
Yeah.
And with all the SCVs coming from that 3rd base of Micro Machine, it would have been so good for some repair, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because they were just fighting over like 24 SCVs, transferring back and forth, trying to avoid tank shots. But no repairs come through. But despite that, I think the Viking count is going into Micro Machine's favor, which should push all this back.
Yeah, the tanks having to kind of fall back here and maybe getting... That one's not going to get picked off, but the last one, too, got damaged a lot because it tried to siege while a Cyclone was hitting it, but it could have just killed it unsieged.
Yeah, if it just fights,
Yeah,
yeah, it's always weird to think that the DPS of the tank, the single fire is stronger when it's not sieged up, which always feels weird, but when you count for splash and stuff, it makes sense why being sieged is so amazing. But you kind of forget how strong tanks are when they're
just on their
just
own.
unsieged. Yeah, 1v1, those things are tough.
Yeah, for sure. Now we've got pretty good Viking numbers that may push this back, and there's kind of the stray Banshees there in the backfield that confuse some of the movement sometimes as things start to move back.
And just wasting so many scans. I feel like almost the entire screen is like 4 different scans going off at once. I love the SCVs with CatRock's army, kind of what I was talking about before, where if you're close to your side, you really should be repairing. Viking numbers is like kind of what makes or breaks the game right now. So being able to being able to survive any more volleys or getting one more shot off really can start to help the number game.
Yeah, he does have that kind of Viking count.
Oh my-
now. Is that like
Yeah, he's getting out of
Yeah,
vision range
yeah,
and just
yeah.
dodging like full
The
volleys of like 12
already-
Vikings.
yeah, like the already fired fire shots. Yeah.
That's crazy. It's like Warp Prism Micro, but just or like Burrow Micro almost. You know,
Yeah.
just dodging. I mean, like thousands of damage probably. It's like 15 Vikings, and it's dodging like the entire volley. That was crazy looking. I don't know how much that'll matter because the Viking. It's if the CatRock's Vikings were attacking during that, then that value is crazy because then you're avoiding volleys that should have been on your Vikings.
Yeah.
When it's just during the downtime, there's no really opportunity
doesn't really
cost of those
matter.
volleys or anything.
Yeah.
But still very fun to see those dodges.
Yeah, and you can see too often when the Banshees are really moving full speed, they're like afterburners light up because it's just constantly receiving orders.
Yeah.
Another fall in there too. But yeah, he does a really good job of making sure that the Vikings all just fire in one big volley. And once you hit the point that one shot something, it can be quite effective.
Yeah, it looks like Void Ray battles to me.
Yeah.
We're kind of hiding the count of your Void Rays, which obviously for bots that is not quite what they're doing, but it also guarantees that you can shoot all at once and makes your opponent a lot harder to select a specific, the weakened Viking. You're just selecting the ball. You can't choose what Viking you're shooting at. You don't have much say over target firing. So yeah, both trying to just flower them as hard as possible, basically.
Yeah, and in the meantime, while they're kind of both tied up here, you've got Micro Machine that is a lot more penned in. CatRock taking the map in a pretty surrounding way. So if this becomes just a war of attrition, then it's going to limit a lot of what Micro Machine's economic possibilities are, and he can end up running out a lot sooner.
Yeah, especially, I don't know if this is coded, but if, let's say you have 20 mules to drop, if CatRock's focusing those mules on the outskirt bases that, like, quote unquote, should be Micro Machines, like the 9 o'clock and the, 2 o'clock or whatever, that will come into play a lot quicker of kind of starving out Micro Machines' bases and making it really hard for this to go into a 25, 35-minute game.
Yeah, and I think he does take that sort of thing into consideration. It looks like he's really broken through on the air superiority here now, though. Micro Machine really getting that Viking count completely reset. And it looks like CatRock is jumping ahead to almost a double army supply lead advantage here. And once you really lose all those Vikings, it's certainly hard to get them back, especially when you're the one that really needs to make forward progress.
In a Ditto, it's very easy to snowball these kind of leads because there's no like X factor of you have something that the other person doesn't have access to that really shines in a particular place. Both these comps are similar enough where like they're going to be going for the same things, and so if CatRock has bigger numbers, it's usually just going to come down to that number game. I am kind of surprised Micro Machine, the first couple Cyclones early game, I totally get because they're just a nice coverall unit. They do a lot. But Micro Machine has continually built Cyclones like up to like 6, 8 at a time. Not building them all at a time, but having them on the map all at a time. It's not like they're stopping at 2 Cyclones, 3 Cyclones for safety. And I feel like that continued production is just like not where you want your money, your tech labs,
Yeah, I don't think they've been getting the value he needs out of it. And again, I think a fair bit of it is that I don't think they are up to date on the way that they're working.
The value of what the Cyclones should be doing.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it's hard to see kind of what the way forward is for Micro Machine here as he's kind of more and more getting pushed into. And gas error corrected. Good. Don't want to see errors.
Thank God you only have 4,000 gas, so make sure you get it covered.
Yeah, Micro Machine, of course, running low here. And did he tap out, or was that a crash? I didn't see the last messages there. But
I mean, he should have tapped, but I've never seen a bot tap.
Yeah, it doesn't
that far in advance.
They just don't do it at that point. We
do have a note.
Okay.
Wait, no, the next spoiler is on the next one. Okay, let me see.
We're being drip fed information.
All right, I'm refreshing. I don't know if I'm seeing the note. All right, here we go.
All right. Okay.
All right, and then just quits. Not
Okay.
sure. Okay, well,
All right. Yeah. So they did warn us ahead of this that Micro Machine seems to be having a memory leak of some kind. So at some point there, he just quit, and the speculation it may be that he just ran out of memory, and it just quit. So just kind of with no explanation, does decide to just peace out of the game, and that's it. So
if you're gonna have that happen, though, this is a good time to do it.
Yeah,
when you're
fine.
down 70 supply or whatever it is, you know, that's the best time to have a little malfunction.
Yeah, maybe
Get it together, game 3.
It's become self-aware and learned to resign.
Yeah,
Just
like this is not looking good.
yeah. It's become like the tic-tac-toe bot in war games, where like the only way to win is not to play.
Yeah,
That sort of thing. So he's pieced out of it. That is a not super, like, certainly not the longest game ever. It was in like the 19-minute mark, I guess, that happened. A little past that. So yeah, definitely if there's whatever, a memory leak going on throughout the whole thing, then I guess, yeah, you could just run out of whatever. Not space, but you know what I mean.
yeah.
RAM. I don't know exactly how they run.
I was just saying, I'm not gonna.
But whatever
you know,
it is, yeah.
I'm not gonna act like I know how these bots work.
Yeah.
But hopefully, Micro Machine then maybe comes with some proxying. I know they've done some proxy racks in the past.
Yeah.
Let's finish the game before 10 minutes. You know,
Mhm.
make sure you have all your memory that you need. Don't need to go into any kind of long games.
Yeah, let's see what happens this time. So far, we've had a CatRock be completely not do anything. We had a Micro Machine rage quit, and let's see what we get in game 3.
Micro Machine. CatRock.
All right, we got the Reaper wall again. We got the 2 Reapers again. So this beginning of CatRock's build order is just so strong against what Micro Machine really wants to do.
Yeah, I think it just shuts them out cold, and yeah, there's always a lot of respect for the bunkers, and then kind of not having the ability to go anywhere, they just get stuck in this loop. And I think a lot of Micro Machine's subsequent behavior is based on what the Reapers do and see. So him kind of going passive a little bit in the last game, and it looks like this game may be heavily dependent on that.
Yeah, just being like basically completely in the dark, not being able to scout, which, you know, against pretty much every other race, and I'm assuming most other bots, you at least get like a full view of the main base and the natural, even if you're not killing, you know, a bunch of workers. Just that information is kind of huge. And so, yeah, really nice job from CatRock, kind of keeping Micro Machine in the dark and doing a very different build than last game. Where last game it was kind of technology focused. You know, I think the natural went down like after Micro Machine's natural was finished and floated over.
Yeah.
So just the timing of everything is very different from CatRock, but obviously looks the exact same to Micro Machine. So yeah, just like what you were saying, Micro Machine just does not have the info, and so I assume it's going to be another pretty passive game from him. Although both of them going into, they love their Banshees.
Yeah, they're good. They're a lot closer in how far along they are this time. Micro Machine's cloak is actually quicker. CatRock last time the Banshee got in and got 8 kills, which went a long way in evening things back out in terms of workers, because he was behind before that happened. So we'll see them swing in and see what happens. They're going to hit at approximately the same time.
I love the look of it because it's very
Yeah.
similarly, the
Yeah.
pathing and everything is just so mimicked.
Yeah.
And Micro Machine kind of doubling down a little bit. They made another Banshee as well, where CatRock once won, and then that's good for him.
Yeah.
And has missile turrets already down, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, turret up at a pretty good spot on the patch here. The scan will chase this away, but it does not die. And
Oh my gosh, Marines just go in the corner.
Yeah, they don't want to. Everything too tentative. Okay, here comes Viking to chase it away.
And missile turrets, feel really good when a Banshee comes in and you already have missile turrets down. But then when the missile turrets don't stop the Banshee from getting the kills, then it feels like double bad that the Banshee got kills because you just spent another 200 minerals, or you got an engineering bay maybe even quicker than you wanted to. So having defenses that you don't need or that you aren't able to use is a cost within itself,
Yeah, picking that one off there. I like that CatRock's Banshee also reports when it gets home safe. It's got that thing of like, call me when you get home. Like, yeah, I'm home safe.
Text me.
Yeah, like I didn't kill anyone, but I'm home.
And yeah, I mean, it looks like Micro Machine wanted to kind of poke out on the map a little bit, but gets pushed away. But that kind of opens up the third base timing for Micro Machine. If CatRock's going to play defensive, Micro Machine says, fine, I'm going to expand, play a little more economical.
Banshee here going to work on this supply depot. You might as well. You don't see that. You don't see that enough. Just kill something.
It's like reminiscent of when Terrans take out like the Cyber Core that's blocking the Reaper path and TVP, and you're like, yeah, this is actually really annoying. I don't really want to rotate my army. The ground army is so annoying to try to defend that. That if you don't have it in position, it's like, those buildings are kind of just you have to leave them for death.
Quite true. Quite true. So once again, without very much actually happening in this, I mean, the little pokes in, but CatRock has taken the army lead, the worker lead, but Micro Machine, it looks to have expanded a little quicker, but it was CatRock that came out in the second game and really took over the whole map much more aggressively than Micro Machine did. So see if he could catch up economically.
Yeah, and I feel like this is kind of how it looked last game too, where the natural was faster for Micro Machine, which this one actually CatRock had the faster natural, but then the third base was faster for Micro Machine. But then once CatRock had a solid army and was able to kind of move across the map, and at least get map control, not necessarily even holding Micro Machine in or setting up any sort of a contain, but just being like on the map, then CatRock like triple expands or quadruple expands, and then really starts taking over all of the mineral patches that they can.
He's really going to stalk him down, wait for this cloak to expire. The Banshee trying to get home before that happens. Should.
Nope. Oh, 4 kills.
4 kills. 4 kills. 4 kills, 3 supply. That's weird. But I don't know what that was. A building? Oh, I guess he killed the building, right? He killed the extractor. So, yeah, that counts.
Yeah, and it's funny how many, like, when just the Raven's chasing the Banshee, it can't do anything. And when just the Viper chasing the Banshee, it can't do anything. So it's really funny, like, what it really takes to take down these Banshees and how annoying they are for the rest of the army.
All right, Raven will come in to help there and, pick them off. That's always something that, like, from the beginning of bot time, just trying to chase down cloaked units and, like, understand the concept of coordination was always a big problem. Like, you would have bots that drop a scan, but nobody's there to kill it. You'd have people send, like, a Raven or Observer, but nobody's there to kill it. And then you'd have armies chase something down when nothing was there to reveal it.
To see it, yeah.
So, yeah.
You really need everything working together to get that right. These tanks, are they hiding behind the vision blockers?
Yeah,
that's kind of cute.
Yeah, whether intentionally or not, that worked out pretty well.
I mean, it looks like they're really hugging them. So I want to think it's because even the back tank was almost closer to the sight blockers than to help the other tanks. So it looks at least semi-intentional, but that also could be me just hoping that it's intentional.
Yeah. It could be also it going up to the sight blockers, not knowing what's on the other side. And
that's true.
And not advancing any further.
It could be intentional for other reasons. Yeah.
Yeah. It could be fear that worked out well.
These Ravens able to get out of that scan range.
Yeah, both of them now moving up to a fourth base, pretty much in step with each other at this point. I guess the concern now is as we get past that 10-minute mark, is there a chance that if Micro Machine is experiencing the same problems, that it's going to be in an okay position this time and still run out of memory or whatever happened? And just quit.
It almost makes me think of Beyond when he has wrist problems.
Yeah.
And you're watching a TVT and you're like, all right, this needs to end kind of soon.
Need to stop.
Because it'll become more of a problem the longer and weirder this game gets, the more strain that wrist is going to take. I don't know exactly how the memory on these, bots work and stuff, but
I don't know.
In my head, the longer it goes, the more complicated it gets. The scarier it gets for, shutting down or GGing out.
We've had a few weird things happen in the past. There was one that didn't know how to deal with a mothership or something. It was like and I don't know whether it's a technical thing or what, but there was always a problem in StarCraft 2 of a mothership would come out and in that split second it would cloak everything under it and lag the hell out of the game. So you could know if your opponent made a mothership because there'd be like a full second of lag.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, okay, the mothership's out. But it somehow, a thing faced that and then immediately quit when it was in a one position, but it didn't know how to deal with it. And there's a few things like that can happen that just a thing makes it not work. And Micro Machine has had similar problems as he gets kind of, again, CatRock coming down the middle here and doing pretty well.
It had been such a quiet game until now. I feel like they both tried to move out, but both retreated pretty quickly. I feel like this is the first, elongated fight. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. And here again, we're in that little sight blocker square, where on the other side are tanks. But CatRock should be the one with better vision, as he's got the weird. Yeah, now that these Vikings are in the back, they may get really swept up.
Yeah, I was gonna say the vision of CatRock I feel like was really nice, but the 360 surround from Micro Machine was making it really weird for the Vikings to maintain vision over the other tanks while also fighting the Vikings that were kind of south of that position. Yeah. But overall, it looks like CatRock is taking the better end of this fight.
Yeah, having the dominance to the point that your Banshees can come in and clear out the tank line is like the ideal situation. That's why you want the air control with this sort of composition.
And this game, I feel like CatRock, I don't know if I've seen a Marine on the map. I feel like it's pretty much only Viking, Banshee, Raven, tank with like a couple Cyclones sprinkled in, when needed. Yeah. But it's pretty much all Starport factory production. And I guess both sides are pretty much mech for sure. But Micro Machine just has a little bit more Marines. I know last game they were getting stim and combat shields as well, so possibly putting some money into those as well. Yeah. All right, +1 for infantry and +1 armor for infantry as well. So a little bit of a kind of lost opportunity cost from Micro Machine to just go slightly into that bio when that's not really the end army that they want,
Yeah, and with the base there going down, that is a big chunk of the economy and future economy that is going down, although there is another base further south that I'm not totally sure that CatRock's aware of or not.
They're going to be expanding there in a second anyway. They'll find it.
Yeah, doesn't see it yet, but I think you're right. Eventually there will be. Here, a bunch of Marines getting shelled by the tanks here. as they try and come down the ramp. I like the repair with the tanks. There's a lot of these that get damaged and then are able to get back into fighting shape.
Yeah, and I feel like are the SCVs now at least trying to get on the Vikings? Because I feel like the SCVs for Micro Machine. So CatRock's SCVs have been awesome about repairing.
Yeah.
They're in the middle of the map, repairing anything that they can. Micro Machines, even when they're at home, the SCVs are like almost never repairing, and when they do, it's like only the Cyclones. Like they have like 7 on a Cyclone repairing when there are like 9 Vikings with orange health bars, and the SCVs are just. I don't know what they're doing over there. They're just patrolling.
They're doing something. Well, I know what those ones are doing. They want to go to the southern base.
Yeah, they want to mine.
Yeah. So, and they can't get there. They keep thinking about it, but then they're like, no, there's bad things down there.
But yeah, just like the valuable units that you have as CatRock and Micro Machine are those Vikings, and so I would love to see more repair on the Vikings. And 49 Vikings have gone down from Micro Machine, only 23 for CatRock. So I mean, it's been a slaughter on the side of Micro Machine.
Yeah, for sure. Someone's asking, like, are Thors ever good here in this sort of situation? I think they can be. The risk so against like the Viking flock, I think the Thors can actually be really good in kind of taking ground and getting a stable position. The problem is then the second part of what CatRock does, which is the turrets. That if you get your Thor forward and they just drop like 6 turrets around it, then that can be pretty annoying because you can either fight them. You can't really run it. Thors aren't the best runners.
Yeah, well, especially if you have a couple
like
of
that,
them and the turrets are taking up space. It's like when you have a lot of Archons. Like, if they could all shoot at once and, be micro perfectly, awesome. But the way that they move and interact and bump into other units, you're just going to get a lot of moving without actual, like, attacks coming off.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think you have to have more against the Vikings. They definitely can be, and we've seen a lot of people really like you're struggling to move forward against tanks, marines, whatever, and then a Thor just gives you a lot of stability. I think there's a lot to be said for the Thor's battle cruisers, like anything that's just tanky, because then you can kind of anchor your army around it a little bit, and it can move in a way that your squishier things don't want to.
Yeah, and Magnus showing us a single Hellion was pretty. Well, I guess CatRock has 2 Hellions, but the one Hellion that was at the 4th base, 20 kills already, taking out a mule and denying, the entire base of mining. Obviously, it was already looking pretty good for CatRock, but kind of just icing on the cake to have a super strong defensive hold outside of the 3rd, and then also completely denying the 4th mining when the first 3 bases are pretty much out of minerals at this point, and so there's just so little so little income for Micro Machine right now. It's really only that base that I thought CatRock was going to expand into and figure out.
Yeah.
But that one base at like right below 9 o'clock is still mining for Micro Machine. That's got to be like one of the only sources of income that Micro Machine has.
Yeah, I think so. At this point, there's the mass mule on them. Yeah. Yeah, again, he can't transfer to it, and he hasn't really been building things there. You can see all the SCVs that are there are like ones that braved the storm and made it there with like red health.
They're like a worker attack away from death. And CatRock taking Micro Machine's 3rd, building on location as he does.
Yeah, so at least Micro Machine, I guess, didn't crash this time as we approached the 21-minute mark. It was about 19:05. I think they crashed on the first one. So yeah, I don't know what causes it. Obviously, it's not directly linear like time, but it must be something else.
The Hellion gets up to 40 kills. I don't know what they all have different like what's it called, like titles, right? When you go up, like don't you become like an admiral or a general? Yeah. I don't know what 40 kills is, but it's got to be something good.
It's up there.
that is.
Yeah, I don't know. You're the admiral of this bike.
It's a pretty sweet, Hellion.
Yeah. So yeah, there we go. The quarterfinal, the last quarterfinal that should have been last week, but I guess you can see potentially from that first game what was, something was wrong And
For the first 2 games, why you
yeah,
thought
yeah.
that we would think there was a problem. Yeah.
yeah, but it was just hard to attribute whatever was going on, and so anyway, we had to rectify it and play this out, and we did get a 2-1 out of it, kind of, since CatRock was on strike. CatRock Bot is a member of the Writers and Actors Guild, and did that in sympathy, but then ended up taking over games 2 and 3 in
It was a scab, yeah.
yeah, pretty good, pretty good fashion. So there we go. So that is going to set up the CatRock versus Tier fight, which is also going to be a TVT. So don't expect anything, much shorter than what we've seen. And yeah, so congrats to him, and I'm glad that we got a chance to revisit that, because originally Micro Machine was credited with the victory and CatRock given the blame for the crashes, but of course that turned out not to be the case, and so we got something out of it in either case.
Yeah, and they were pretty close games. I mean, I think the unit comp and how you get there was really important, where Micro Machine just had a few pit stops that they wanted to take until getting into the tank, Viking, Raven, Banshee kind of super army. They wanted to battle in some Marines, get a few Cyclones and stuff, which just aren't going to be that great later on.
Yeah.
But to take it 20 minutes, and it looked pretty close for the first 17 minutes, both of the games that there were things built on both sides. I feel like as a pretty good showing for Micro Machine. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. It was good, and yeah, someone said in chat there, but the ranking system is 0 to 4 kills, you're a recruit. 5 to 9, you're a corporal. 10 to 14, you're a sergeant. 15 to 19, you're a captain. Beyond that, you are a commander.
So Hellion, yeah,
Hellion
commander,
easily a commander. And then there's different. It's for Protoss. It's disciple, mentor, instructor, master, executor, and Zerg.
Protoss is so cool, dude.
Yeah, Zerg gets to start. The beginning rank for Zerg is Predator, and then
that's badass.
then Slayer, Ravager, Assassin, and then ultimately Metamorph.
Okay, Zerg and Protoss are both pretty cool on that one.
Yeah, those are pretty sweet. Here is Tier T. The Terran version of Tier, with an ELO of 1802 and a win rate of 43.94 and low crash rate, which hopefully is true.
Knock on wood. Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah, so he's a pretty solid. Tier used to submit as a Protoss player, but always, I think my understanding, always had all three kind of running on the ladder and stuff. So this is the Terran version of it. And CatRock, of course, we just saw at 1974 and a win rate of 64%. And yeah, crash rate low, but sometime lazy rate a little bit higher. It'll just sit there. But hopefully, if that's just map specific and it kind of makes sense on that map that both of them are sitting on top, we'll see if we see that again, but it shouldn't be indicative of, the series if it does happen again.
Yeah, well, and it's nicer to have a best of 5 to play with, even if it does.
Yeah.
If you do have a throwaway game, having it where your opponent still needs to win too, I feel like helps tremendously.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we are ready to get going, so let's hop right in.
Tier. CatRock.
All right, we are in the TVT. Looking pretty normal. CatRock going double Stargate. But other than that, I mean, I feel like a pretty quick natural expand from both of them. A 1-1-1 from both of them. pretty similar builds thus far. Oh, triple Stargate. Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be heavy air, which makes some sense, as we often do see. We usually see him go into like quad or more pretty quickly.
We do have at least a second one from Tier, but definitely much faster tank production and I think a healthier marine count as well. Yeah, for sure, because CatRock has 4 army supply. So really banking to not fight early on, but to have a really strong army composition as they build up. Kind of like the idea of you know, as Protoss or as Zerg or you know, I guess you could do it as Terran as well, but you can build an army fast and then kind of have that army die off and replace it with stronger units and, you know, play around a maxed out army most of the game. Or you can kind of go for that perfect army right out the gate, and you're not going to have as much army supply or as strong of army for most of the game, but you're never going to have to like try to replace units. You know, you don't have to do the run bys where you're sacrificing 15 roaches just to like get the roaches out of your supply.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like that's kind of more CatRock's world. Is there should be no units that lose value and that are expendable at some point. You know, so no Reapers, no Marines if you're not building, you know, stim and combat shields. It's only units that you really want to save for the entirety of the game, where Tier's going more, you know, let's get set up in a strong, you know, strong foundational army that maybe we won't go super hard into Marines or Bio or anything that we're building now, but we'll at least have something if things were to take off and if we were actually to engage with each other early on.
Yeah, I think you're totally right there on kind of what the philosophy behind it is. And generally, I think kind of in the long run, that tends to pay off, like particularly for Terran, to not just trade things off. For some other races, we'll see, like we will see kind of the example you give of like the Zerg will hit a max out point and then throw their roaches away. Eris was known for doing that sort of thing, like an early roach max out, then get as much damage done with them as you can, but they're meant to die, and then transition to later. But yeah, in Terran, like obviously, CatRock's not doing that. You're going up to stuff that you, basically the first Raven he makes, he intends to still be alive at 25 minutes.
Exactly, yeah. And it's not like either of them are wrong ways to play. You know, like at the professional level with humans, you see both of these kind of tactics.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of ebb and flow of exactly how much you want to, you know, try to commit to getting the big boys out and not having an army, but you can see both sides of this strategy, you know, play out in actual matches all the time.
Yeah, for sure. And it's all often that thing of what can I get away with then? It is, and here comes the Thor we're going to get to see. Tier does tend to lean on these more. So yeah, we're going to see its ability to do what it just did, which is walk into the tank fire and take it out.
That tank stood no chance.
Yeah.
And this tank should turn back home very quickly. The rest of the army already has, so I'm surprised that the rally point is still so far forward. But yeah, I feel like, especially if you're gonna be doing that kind of strategy with CatRock of really building up a strong army that's gonna take a while to build, but it's gonna be really strong when you build it. You really don't want to be pushing out like this and, you know, leaking out off a couple tanks at a time, because that's the exact opposite of your overall strategy. You know, if you build 10 Marines and you're not going to go into upgrades and you're fine losing them, send those in, be annoying, harass, but you really don't want to harass with like single tanks at a time. And especially with these Thors, nothing is getting done on the side of CatRock.
Yeah, at least defensively. For sure. Something I wanted to point out too, and you don't see it out of a lot I hope we get to see it again, but it looks like the Ravens on Tier side don't follow the Banshee, they cut off the Banshee. They try and stay on like the inside circle. So when the Banshee was kind of flying around the outside of Tier's base, it was like staying to the inside, almost like a defenseman protecting the net sort of thing. And then the Viking was directly following it. but then it's trying to like cut it off all the time.
Yeah, that's super nice.
Yeah, and I think that's just a good way to approach it. It really looked like they were working together. So yeah, basically, instead of following, it's like I'm assuming that you're going to turn into the mineral line, and I'm going to cut off that direction. That's what it looked like anyway. So I want to see it again. It did it in 2 different spots.
It almost reminds me of like if you're defending against like a cannon rush, you can have all your probes chasing the one probe that's building, but they will never catch up to that one probe unless you are like moving your units to where that probe is going.
Yeah.
Or to cut off angles so that you can actually get a surround. The chase is actually like one of the worst things you can do when you have similar speeds and they're going to go in a circle and you have to follow them in that same circle. So yeah, being able to see that I feel like is pretty huge with being able to actually track down the Banshees and actually get those kills and not just follow them across the map, whenever they come.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely doing a really good job with the Thors here, even able to chase down the Cyclones with them and get some kills.
Yeah, the defensive map presence from Tier is really, really strong. I feel like CatRock keeps trying to get out on the map with his army and keeps getting pushed back. The only problem is with, the Thors being so chonky and slow, Tier is definitely not threatening anything on CatRock's side.
Yeah,
they're playing amazing defense, but CatRock is doing CatRock things and expanding like a madman. Even taking, I feel like that's already starting to take Tier sides of the bases with that south of 9 o'clock. Well, south of where we're looking at actually right now. So we'll see how long it goes uncontested, because this also could be once Tier does get 200 supply. Now that it's kind of a Thor-based army and is becoming one of those, this is a game-ending army, this isn't just throwaway units, maybe Tier is able just to, march across the map and
it's starting to feel like that's maybe exactly what he's doing. And I think with like 5-6 Thors there now, I'm not sure what exactly is going to stop them. The planetaries themselves are actually fairly decent. It's probably the best weapon he's got at the moment, but that takes a while.
Yeah, well, and it's so interesting because CatRock, obviously, I don't know exactly how much information it takes and it changes its game plan based on, but in the last, 3 TVTs I guess 2 TVTs we've seen, the Viking count is such a huge game changer. But when you have nothing in the air, like kind of what Tier is going for, the 12 Vikings that you have seem so worthless, and all that build time and starport time just kind of goes into nothing, because you don't really want to land these Vikings against tank Thor as well. And so it's a very interesting way to negate kind of an entire unit from CatRock's composition.
Yeah, that's always been the threat of something like Vikings, is like it takes a mass investment to basically take over the air, and then only to have someone be like, I don't care about the air.
Yeah, it's like
take the air.
Zerg builds 80 corruptors, takes out your 5 carriers, but then you have blink stalkers, and it's like, well, you get the air.
I think though the opportunity that he's not seeing, which like I think a person would see immediately, is he's also got all these Banshees. If you snipe that Raven that's with the army, you got to worry about a scan now and then, but those Banshees cloaked and spread out enough would wipe like all the Thors off the map in like a few volleys. So that's your counterplay, but it's a matter of, can the bot recognize that that's kind of the thing to do? And then, of course, scan coming down, you really do have to control it in a certain way.
Yeah, if you get AoE,
everything.
Yeah, especially with that many Thors, if they all do get their AoE shot off and the bonus against light, you will just them. Explode. I feel like a really big thing that I think, again, humans would be able to see is just not to fight the Thors. Where the Vikings and the Banshees almost are close enough where they are looking for the right time to jump on the Thors. Yeah. Where I think the answer is to never fight the Thors and go kill everything else. Because the Thors are going to be so slow to try to actually go to all of your different bases. And landed Vikings and Banshees can do numbers on workers, on
Yeah.
infrastructure back at home. You can really take advantage of your speed
Yeah, for sure.
and maneuverability that the Thors just don't have.
Yeah.
If you're trying to wait for a straight up fight, I just don't think you're ever gonna win a straight up fight against this number of Thors.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, people often underestimate kind of the firepower of the Viking. They're pretty good.
They shoot
Like,
fast.
they shoot fast. Like it's just their little Gatling guns get going, and then again to the power of the Banshees as an offensive unit to just wipe things out. Like they're really good. Like, and I don't think there's given the sheer number of Banshees. If you just ignore the Thors and went after the bases, like it's a single volley to kill the turret.
Yeah, you
And-
destroy them.
Yeah, so it's not like, and you get on top of them and it just kills everything.
I mean, these are numbers that could I feel like take down planetary fortresses almost fairly quickly. You just have so many, and nothing is going to stop you. The few Marines, or even if it's maybe like one Thor at home, you should be able to take out whatever is not on your side of the map.
Yeah.
But if you're waiting to pick a fight and you just want to get the quote unquote right engagement, I just think you've already lost. There is no right engagement. You're doing the problem wrong.
Yeah,
That's
for
not what
sure.
you want.
Yeah, exactly. Just be evasive completely. He's doing a good job because those are there. He's constantly scanning them, which I think also maybe introduces the fear that, okay, if I go to do anything, then I'm going to be detected anyway. But
Yeah.
still, like if you do that on his side of the map where there really isn't anything there, then you could do some damage. But either way, it's a cleanup job here now.
That Thor glob is not dying.
It's not going anywhere. And that's how quick they die when they get into the scan range. There, he's kind of playing whack-a-mole with bases. CatRock still is kind of all over the place here, but it's not actually finishing it off.
Their bank is finally low enough where they're not going to be able to pop out of any more holes.
Yeah,
and they're going to be shut down finally. I'm glad someone asked about Thor's last game.
Yeah.
I was like, why wouldn't that work? It's like, well, it does kind of work.
Yeah, and I think in this one too, where he didn't have the Raven numbers, and it was more the Banshee side, because I think that's it. And again, it's a low number thing. It's like if I built a Thor, well, if I built like 8 of them, then I don't care. There's a lot of things that are like one is vulnerable to this, but many is not.
But it is weird, the severe lack of Ravens, I feel like, because I feel like there was like 1 or 2, but Tyr never really went into Banshees, and I don't know, CatRock just stayed so hard on that Viking Banshee production, and that's, I feel like, the worst thing to build into Thors. If it was tank Raven, and you put some auto turrets down and they can't get on the tanks because of the pathing, and then I think it gets a lot more complicated. Even interference matrix, right, would work on Thors.
Yeah, exactly.
And get real funky.
Yeah, that's always the problem. Like when you're going with like the massive units, it's easier to shut down one unit than multiple other things. But once you then have multiple of the massive unit, that's when it becomes very like, that's why battle cruisers in mass win, why carriers on mass win. It's like you can't shut them down at that point anymore, because the rest of them, you go and matrix one or drop turrets on one, and they don't care. They just instantly pop them.
You almost get the benefits of the swarm while also having the benefits of the just hero units, or the big bad guys that are just gonna deal so much damage so quickly.
Yeah, that's always the case. It's like it's the Death Star thing, or like the Bismarck thing of like, if you build the Bismarck, the allies are all going to hunt down the Bismarck. But if you have like 8 of them, then that becomes a lot more daunting. Are we going to dive on this one thing? No, we can't, because there's more. So, there you go. We're going to hop into the next game. I don't know whether there was a note on this one too.
Oh, there was.
So I don't know if this is game 2. Someone confirm in my ear maybe before I say this, but it looks like basically, and is that the same map, Equilibrium, that CatRock crashed on? So we've got CatRock. Okay, the next game after this. All right. Well, we'll see.
I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to read.
Well, that's it. It says read after game one. That was game one. So, but then I don't know. Does that mean we're going to watch that now or whether we're skipping it? Well, I'll just let them load the next game and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we can tell if it broke.
Okay.
Tier. CatRock.
All right, back into it. Again, it's looking well. Yeah, I mean, looking similar-ish. CatRock looks like maybe going heavy Cyclone though. Another factory coming down. I feel like at this point he should have 3 starports finished.
Yeah, often that's more the opener. Yeah, I don't know. That could be interesting. Just go for some sort of like early cyclone attack, pull
It's
things
double-
apart.
Oh no, that's a tech lab, right? Okay, so it's a tech lab factory and a reactor factory. I thought it was double reactor factory for a second, and there was just going to be an actual swarm of cyclones, but not that crazy.
Yeah, you could definitely do this stuff, and I feel like we used to see this more, but then it's always the case that kind of as your meta evolves, you tend to get more defensive more late, but the early game attacks are still always a threat present, and you could hit timings that are just designed to exploit certain things, certain unit matchups, and kind of take over. And the Cyclone is definitely like one of those things of like you let Cyclones start getting like just getting the one up on you and you're overwhelmed.
Yeah, they almost feel like Phoenix for Protoss, where if you have like 3 and your opponent has 2 other units, you kill those 2 units. You know, like as long as you have like the slight number advantage, it's just such a like 1-for-1 unit that like the opponent just cannot catch up. I feel like Marines will get taken out fast, but the numbers make me feel better, where you can't lock onto everything at once.
Yeah, I think the fact that like there's less durability to any individual one. So yeah, you're more likely to trade evenly, like 6 against 8. At least the 8 loses 4 or something. Like it's more even footed. Whereas you can end up in situations where it's like 3 versus 4, they lose all 3 and you lose none.
Yeah,
Like
if they have bigger units, or you get it with like a Banshee or a something where it's just a heavy unit but it's a single unit.
Yeah,
those lock-ons just really start to stack up.
Yeah, for sure. And both of them just kind of tacking up though. And I'm kind of curious, is there a timing that he's going to hit, maybe with these upgrades that are going now, that you kind of hit after them and do something, or if this is kind of defensive mass cyclone.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the like first couple cyclones feel very defensive, and then at a certain point it kind of feels like glaives, or like a unit where you're not gonna want this when you have 200 supply. You're not gonna want 12 or 12 cyclones. So the fact that they're continually being built is pretty surprising.
Yeah, and like 2 at a time. Yeah, 2 at a time, double upgrades. I almost have to imagine that something happens right after the upgrades finish.
Yeah,
but,
some sort of timing, and then looks like maybe a move out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tanks
so
coming along. So do we have 2 tanks and like 10 cyclones or something like that?
It does appear to be in that ballpark.
Oh, and 10 was such a good guess. All right, these first couple of tank shots are pretty huge. Oh my god.
Yeah, pretty big. Here though, he does clear out that if he could jump on this tank.
Oh, hit it! What are you doing? Oh.
I thought he was doing something clever there.
Yeah.
but he wasn't. He wasn't jumping on it. He was ignoring it.
A little too confident. A little.
Tank in the back though may shell down the first one here, and more cyclones coming in.
And it's like the last game, but reverse, where
Yeah.
the Viking count really starts to hurt when they don't have air.
Yeah. Has to back away.
Oh,
See, okay, now
that's
he's
what you
doing
expected, right?
That's what
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought. That's what I thought he was doing, but now it was only one. And the Thor here may, put in a bit of an end to this.
The tank unsieging though. If the tank
Yeah.
was sieged, that Thor, I feel like almost 100% pushes this back.
Yeah.
Now that you lose the tank,
Yeah,
the
it's
micro's
tougher.
so good though. To break those lock-ons, the medevac is just quick with the pickups and the drops.
Yeah.
Right, it's getting weird.
getting-
I'm
it
not
is
sure
getting
whose
weird.
position I like more. All these Vikings are so close to dying. We've got 2 Ravens for CatRock over here. 3 tanks, which, the tank numbers are starting to get fairly overwhelming because Tier is not building tanks. Because they're building Thors with that factory tech lab, no tanks are on their way. So the tank positioning could be kind of huge.
It's got to end up being really overwhelming though, because if he ends up with 3 Thors against 5 tanks, the Thors walk.
Yeah, and the cyclone count is not staying high.
Yeah.
They're engaging a little too often for their own good.
Yeah.
And just getting willed down so heavily where once CatRock does have that strong tank line, there's not going to be the, squishy absorption of the cyclones to kind of be in between the Thors and tanks.
Yeah, in terms of, we just saw the flash up of resources and stuff there. I feel like the Cyclones have done what they're supposed to, but I still don't feel like he's ahead. I think because the time-wise, the Thors are better. And they got killed there, but for 3 tanks.
Yeah, but Thors...
I don't know.
2 Thors for 3 tanks, I feel like is good production time-wise, right? Don't Thors take...
a while? Yeah.
A fairly, significant amount of time, and...
If he can get to the Cyclones here finally breaking up on the high ground base, I think that's the key. If he's shutting down this, he had to get to one of the bases to make this successful, and he is. So,
or this just beautiful middle ground, the low ground between all the bases, to cut off the reinforcements. I feel like also is just it helps you get into a base to fight it if you can get this middle ground, no man's land, weird area.
Yeah. Yeah, now we've got back up to that almost original Cyclone number, and so now if the Thor starts popping out, he's in trouble. When the numbers were low, you could just basically focus the Thors on the tanks, but obviously now they're just too much to deal with.
Yeah, this is looking pretty done and dusted for CatRock now. As long as these Cyclones come back and I guess now we have the tank numbers, so I don't think the Thor is even scary.
Yeah.
But for the original push, I feel like the Cyclones played outside of the tank range a little bit too much. Where if they got whittled down a little bit more, I think the Thors do kind of like what you were saying, just hop on the tanks and are able to just get them down. Especially if they were, medevac dropped on or any kind of fancy micro. That I think the Thors absolutely destroy CatRock. Because CatRock doesn't have any anti-air other than these Cyclones.
Yeah.
And so I really don't like the way, don't like the leniency, I guess, that the Cyclones had when taking engagements.
Yeah.
Because they do seem like a really integral part of this push, where if you lose them, you're kind of screwed. But he was able to keep just a few alive.
Yeah, and sometimes it's that time thing again too. So here's that those initial 2 could have just taken out that tank right off the bat, and then had free reign right from there. But some of it's the thing that we've talked about before with other matchups where this unit against this unit, given enough time, cleans it up. But they're making more as you're doing it. And it took the Thors so long to kill 2 or 3 Cyclones that just 4 more came, and 4 more came. And if you're killing 2 and replacing it with 4, then you eventually get this.
Yeah. Well, especially if you then trade out your Thors. So I feel like if Thors get to 4 or 5 Thors, then you start really slowing down the Cyclones, and as long as the tanks aren't behind them completely, you're just winning that fight. But if you sacrifice them and kind of trade off and do the messy fights, then the guy who builds units faster
Yeah.
probably is going to have the advantage, even if he's on your side.
Yeah, for sure. And he just never got the opportunity. I mean, I think he did have the opportunity, but didn't prioritize. There's a point when there's like 2 or 3 tanks and 2 Thors. If he marches down, kills the tanks, then goes back to the Cyclones, you're better
Mhm.
off. But never clearing them out, even though they weren't defended. Yeah, like you end up then being walked into them constantly.
Yeah, you have to jump on one or the other while they're
Yeah.
not with each other.
Yeah.
Once they group up, it's pretty rough. But we'll see. I feel like very 2 different games so far, and
Yeah.
so we'll see what the third game looks like.
Tier. Tier. CatRock.
All right, back to our regularly scheduled programming. CatRock with 3 starports. Like I
Yep.
said last game, that's what we kind of expect at this point.
Yeah, getting the 4th, and yeah, exactly. So, although it's kind of funny, like why switch back to it now?
Yeah,
That dominated.
the build
Yeah.
that you lost on.
Yeah.
Yeah, seems a little funky, but CatRock's going into hard banshees, which I feel like every game other than the last one, CatRock's
Yeah.
been going into cloak, but it's usually like 1 banshee,
Yeah.
maybe 2 banshees, and then going into the Raven Viking, more normalcy. This is 4 starports, and I think all of them are about to be building banshees.
Yeah, it does appear to be that. He's even adding on the 5th, and yeah, and the cloak will be done relatively soon. So yeah, this is pretty deep into it. The Raven is on the way for tier. Will pop out before the cloak is finished.
And Vikings already being on the map for tier is a
Yeah.
pretty good sign, as long as this Raven doesn't go across the map.
He appears to be, but but I mean, yeah, it's
Okay, just
yeah,
taking the third.
just guarding, moving up here. Banshee will sneak in behind. It's not too far away. Didn't like wander all the way across the map or anything. And Banshee will come in. Has cloak. He doesn't cloak until, of course, there's a threat
I love
to
that.
him. Yeah. Sometimes not even then. I think he sees. I don't know whether he saw the Raven
The
coming,
Raven.
and that would invalidate it anyway. Maybe yeah. So this is the behavior I was talking about. The Raven takes the inside track.
Yeah,
And-
kind of cuts
yeah.
it off a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah. So if he ever tried to turn back towards the mineral line or back towards the center of the map, then yeah, it will stop him. Yeah. See, he's turning.
Yeah,
He's turning before he's playing like zone defense.
yeah, I love that from Tears Ravens.
Yeah.
Like that's a very weird thing to kind of think about and try to put into a code to
Yeah.
like accurately guess where the opponent's gonna go.
Yeah, it's kind of a. Have you ever heard like the story of Pac-Man and how the ghosts behave?
Oh no.
That they don't behave how they were originally meant to, but it made the game awesome. So all 4 ghosts were apparently supposed to like just follow Pac-Man, and because of the way that but one of them is like supposed to like come from behind, the other one's supposed to cut him off, whatever. But one of the ghosts, Clyde, because of a like stack overflow issue, his coordinates wrap around and he's in playing zone defense. His goal is to stay 4 tiles away from Pac-Man at all times.
Interesting.
And so he's not trying to chase you down, but sometimes because of their coding it does. So they end up playing this really good like surround of him in a completely unintended way because of the way that that it overflowed. And I think it ends up being he's supposed to stay like 2 above and 2 to the right of Pac-Man or something like that.
Interesting. Yeah, just supposed to cut off options rather than like
Yeah.
trying to chase him down the entire time.
Yeah. So it ended up coming out with this really strange dynamic behavior that ended up working. in a similar era in the original Civilization game, where Gandhi, of course, was supposed to be the most passive one.
Like
But
reaches 255 or whatever, like
yeah,
something.
and that there's a thing that lowers the aggression of your opponents, and when his is lowered, it wraps around to 255.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah,
I love me some Sid Meier's Civilization.
Yeah, it's a goodie. It's a goodie. I think Draken still plays Civ 6 all the time.
I'm a 5 guy.
Yeah,
Unfortunate.
Yeah. Five's good. Here come the Thors going after the tanks here. 2 unsieged is probably the right move there.
Yeah.
And they will siege up again, and they just lose. They'll get it. Yeah, eventually. But cleaner if they just didn't. The Banshee's coming in after the bases, and if they could jump on this Thor, they could just drop it, but they're not gonna.
Yeah, no Ravens. We do have some scans coming in, but
Yeah.
Banshee's getting some value. Honestly, I was really worried the Banshees were going to get almost no value once Tier had a healthy Viking count, and it didn't seem like CatRock was like really trying to put one in at a time. And when they group up with the army, I have a lot less faith in them to like really be beneficial. But I feel like they did an okay job there, and CatRock's getting back to Viking.
Yeah, definitely. I think they did certainly more than enough damage to be well worth it. CatRock's got a massive both army supply lead and worker supply lead. And resetting that base and just doing a ton of damage is helpful. So I think he's set up pretty well as long as he can kind of prevent the Thors from like getting too out of control, I think is the key.
Yeah. Keeping the Thor count down, keeping whatever's going to defend your tanks against the Thors, keeping that alive. Whether it's Cyclones, he had some Marines earlier. I wouldn't even mind a healthy Marine count, just as some fodder, as some, sponges for these Thors.
He's getting way too cute with this micro right now because those Thors were not firing.
They're not attacking,
and they're just dancing in tank range. Like, he had that tank dead, and he lifted the Thors. And let it get repaired.
The importance of knowing how much to micro is even hard at the human level, but it really is like sometimes it's better off to just leave it, let the units just do what they need to do. But it almost reminds me of like if you have a full army selected, you don't want to target fire. You're gonna spend more time moving and being silly and making your units clunk around if you try to do too much micro with too many units. So it was cute against the Cyclones, not as cute against the tanks, which do instant damage.
Yeah, exactly. Not what you want. And that tank was in the red too, and then him lifting up let it live basically, as the SCVs are doing a really good job. Like, tanks get repaired super fast.
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting because CatRock's kind of doing the same thing as Tier. He has better units on the priority list, I'll say. But, like, the Banshees don't get repaired. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain units that the SCVs are clearly prioritizing on what to repair, and then other units where they know they're going to be flying around, and it's not just an auto repair everything. It's a follow these tanks. These are what I want to be healthy.
Yeah, for sure. Good priority with it, as he basically just kind of swarms, cleans everything up here. The Banshees, I felt, were much more aggressive this time around too. Obviously that was the main kind of part of the plan, but he was attacking turrets with them, like being much more fearless with the Banshees than we saw in previous games. Yeah,
the Banshees almost did what the Cyclones did last game, which is a weird unit to sub.
Yeah, this
micro.
Yeah, this micro that just led to its death.
Which I guess it is trying to do it against the Cyclones. Having a few Cyclones in there to trigger that micro is really helpful, because I think if it was just the tank, the Thor's not trying to dodge those shots.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's often the case, and it's something that's underestimated in the bot scene, is that throwing in even one or two of a specific unit can confuse and really mess with the priority, because you often have to tell like certain units, like, you need to be scared of this, and
Yeah.
it's very hard to explain like all the use cases of like, yeah, you need to back away from this, but not if there's something that you should be attacking, and not if you're outnumbering it by this, and not if like it's hard to come up with all those conditions of like when you should or shouldn't, and then even if you do, that someone can then try and exploit that new condition, things like
Yeah.
that. So I think here is the point that we were supposed to say at game 4. CatRock went on map equilibrium again, and they said either crashed or didn't do anything.
Yeah.
One
Same
of
game.
those, same thing basically. So we're just crediting Tier with the game for that, without actually trying to load it or anything. And we're going to game 5. So we're tied up 2-2, and going on to game 5 here. But yeah, so CatRock got a loss that was just a malfunction.
Yeah, it's like Tier just has a really good counter pick. That
Yeah.
map Tier is just better on.
Yeah.
We're gonna give the Tier the free
Yeah,
win.
just give it. Yeah.
But that also lets us go to game 5, which is
Yeah.
gonna be exciting because it is obviously one of those games a little bit, not as interesting as the other 3, but I feel like it's been pretty close all 3 games.
Yeah.
The Thors just really need to get to that that strong number, that
Yeah.
critical mass. And then I think they just push so hard. But with CatRock, I think the big kind of indicator is if CatRock gets on the map early, then
Yeah.
those Thors don't have the time to get to 5 Thors, 7 Thors, 8 Thors. But if CatRock kind of stays back and only throws out one Banshee and kind of tries to turtle up themselves, I think the maxed out armies Tier just comes in with infinite Thors and eats them up.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's see how it goes. Can he get to 3 Thors or more? Game 5.
Tier. CatRock.
Expands with
Oh, missile turrets.
planetary too.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. CatRock loving that cloak.
Yeah.
I think almost every single TVT, other than
Okay.
the Cyclone game,
Yeah.
going for that cloak. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta get it. There's certain things that are just like worth it in terms of like the response that your opponent has to do, I think. And yeah, like cloak burrow, like the roach burrow thing has
Burrow's so much
never
better.
been bad. Yeah.
Burrow's so much better. Cloak is, I get cloak being like
Yeah.
annoying, and you do need to have but everyone's building a Raven and Vikings anyway. Is kind of
Yeah, they're
what it feels like.
doing that anyway. I suppose it makes them throw down turrets everywhere. So
Yeah. Okay.
getting it probably costs them like 600 minerals, in that sort of thing. So yeah.
Okay. All right. You're convincing me.
Yeah. I think that's it. The reaction. Sometimes you just trigger the reaction.
And if where the Banshee was dodging the volleys with the cloak, when it was
Yeah.
during idle time, but if that ever happens during a fight, that's of infinite value. I would love
Yeah.
to see some Banshees trying to take some
Yeah.
fire away from a Viking fight, and help Vikings just take over in between those missed volleys. But usually that doesn't seem to be happening too much.
Yeah. Yeah, not too much. They just do it. They're not doing it like with purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Banshee will swing in and show its pretty little rotors. I
I was wondering if you're gonna go with legs, wings, or
yeah.
rotor. That was most accurate for sure.
Yeah, at least 4 kills there already. I think that's 5. Yeah,
Going to 6,
they're gonna
and
go away.
I feel like just suicide for 7, right? It's gonna be cleaned up so quickly, anyways.
I think. But make him blow this. This is the other part too. More scans. That's
Oh, do you get out? Oh,
that's minerals.
One
Yeah.
more scan. One more scan.
Yeah. Yeah, so 6 kills, 2 blown scans, Like
2 mules basically. Yeah.
Yeah, so what's that cloak worth already? And then he's gonna turret up or something to defend against it. Like I think it's just one of those things that almost always ends up paying for itself.
Yeah.
It may cost you a little in time, like you said, more that opportunity cost of there's something else you could have done, but I think that's pretty effective.
Yeah. Well, and it's just so interesting that it's always the very first thing that he's built.
Yeah.
You know, the very first tech that you're going into, very first upgrade, has just been that cloak. But yeah, I mean, that Banshee report survived 6 kills. I mean, that's amazing. That Banshee was definitely worth it.
Yeah, I do love the home report. Like, sortie finished, and yeah.
And Thor production has started for tier, and CatRock is fairly, set up on their side of the map. It doesn't. Well, we'll see if the because that maybe it was the Cyclone game that the upgrades were coming in, and that was kind of the sign to go across the map. I'm not sure if there's going to be a similar trigger, because it looks like CatRock might be looking to take that 4th, and if so, I'm afraid that they're going to stay on their side of their map a little bit.
Yeah,
more so than the other games.
Yeah, I kind of get the feeling that you might be right with this. Yeah, he's just going to move the army over to secure it. And yeah, it's just less aggressive, more balanced in what he's got. And we'll see how it plays. There's still only the one Thor on tier side, but yeah, if he moves in now, maybe prevent it from getting there.
Yeah, starting to move about, which I definitely thought with that 4th being built and the way that they went over to the 4th that they were just going to set up right there.
Ooh, nice.
But I mean, cleared up all the Marines immediately.
Yeah,
we have 2 Thors, but we have some scary micro with the Cyclones. It can help or hurt, and it may be hurting this time.
Yeah, if he gets on here, just take out the tanks. Now he's going to die. There's a lot of Marines there with it. There was the turrets dropped with it. It wasn't enough to like overpower that position. And we got this road. I don't even know how that tank got over there. Like,
oh yeah, that's CatRock's tank. I thought that was
it's the most rogue. Like, there's a wall on that side. I don't know how.
Yeah, well, and like they all grouped up at the 4th base at like 9 o'clock, and then came over. So that tank was not part of the flock.
Yeah, that's funny too. Marines on top of it now will eventually shut it down. But like, how did he wander over there?
Yeah, that's a really weird tank positioning. And also when the 2 Thors did come out and fought those 2 tanks that one barely survived, the splitting of the damage really hurt tier there. Where I was talking about how if you have a huge army, you really don't want to target select and hit one unit with 100 Marines, because that's just going to be so much overkill. But 2 Thors, you absolutely want to hit down, shift click every tank, because each tank you take out is going to be so much less damage, and that it just snowballs so hard. So the fact that one tank was almost dead and the other tank was like yellow means that should have been at least one tank going down, which changes how fast the Thors go down. And I know you've talked about that kind of exponential kind of growth of how fights work and how damage per second works, and it becomes a lot very quickly.
Yeah, for sure. This is now better micro against us, but he keeps microing like back.
Too far back. Yeah.
If he knew to micro forward into the Cyclone, that would be maybe a little more useful, because you could definitely do that.
Yeah, the medevacs almost need to have more confidence of like, the Cyclone's not going to lock onto me. And especially when it's mostly just tanks, having the medevacs carry in the Thors would actually make such a huge difference. Just like plopping them on the tanks. You don't have to walk through 2 or 3 volleys just to get in range.
And I wish for his sake too that Tier did more of the repairing, because you've just got a bunch of very damaged units, including that Thor, which, like you said, is a big time investment in terms of how long it takes to get them out. It's been in that red for like a while, so it would be easy to get it repaired up, and a lot of the stuff in the air is like that as well.
Yeah, and Thors feel like one of the most obvious to really prioritize repairing, just with their size, the damage, the value. It's like I get not trying to chase down Vikings. You know that they're quick and they're going to go over weird terrain. But I feel like Thors almost are
Yeah,
more
they're
beneficial than tanks to like repair and keep alive and really try to get that grouped up army.
I don't think they're showing proper respect to the Marines. They're going after the tanks because they know they can overpower it, but like that group of Marines is not going to turn and kill them.
Yeah, and I almost like the Marines more than the Cyclones as that buffer.
Yeah.
One, because you're not sacrificing tank time or factory time to build the Cyclones rather than the tanks. But also the many units low health is just such a nice response to a high single damage dealing unit.
Yeah.
And so I really like the Marines kind of being paired up with these tanks. But that being said, well, I don't know. Tyr's pushing him back a little bit, but man, CatRock has many bases.
Yeah, it has the bases, including like his own like third, which got taken out there. But yeah, there obviously should be a tier base at this location for the whole time, but it has been reset. But yeah, it's hard to see that tier is going to move in quick enough to be able to blunt this, as CatRock is at maxed out already.
Yeah, and almost even like, because you're going for this Thor composition, to get maxed out, you do have to A, take a lot of time, but also B, have a lot of resources. And it almost seems like Tyr's going to get resource choked, like as early on as you possibly could. You know, with the comp that he's going for, you almost do have to have 5 bases, 6 bases, and a really, really healthy economy to keep this production up.
Yeah, and I really more and more want the repair with this stuff. Like, even in human games, like sending Thors with a bunch of SCVs used to be like a common cheese because of the surface area, like you mentioned. So I think it comes down to this sort of push. Can he blunt this, or is this going to basically stab him in and take out their SCVs there now? Are they helping? Yeah, okay, there we go.
Finally.
There we go. That's what you want it, because if this is durable now, then he can come in and start wiping out bases, and CatRock doesn't really have a way to deal with it. But he's really got to do it this push. I think if this gets reset in any way, then he's in some deep trouble.
Yeah, economically. I mean, if you're keep an eye on Tyr's gas, that's going to be really the limiting factor. And yeah, so if this count gets reset, then it's not going to be 4 Thors at a time being produced. It's going to be like 2.
I do like that he's going right for the jugular. He right into the natural. He's going into the main. If he gets on production and everything, that's kind of that.
We do have the Raven count from CatRock, which we didn't have the last games. We kind of wanted to see how auto turrets and everything would interact with these Thors. I don't think interference matrix was actually researched, so it will be just auto turrets. And I guess maybe like an anti-armor missile. But the Ravens seem so afraid to get even close.
Yeah, Cyclone there being... It's kind of weird they are. I'm surprised they're not dropping turrets on it. Maybe they just don't think it's effective, which it's kind of not. But when you've got that many, it is.
Yeah,
but they don't want to get... Yeah, they don't want to get anti-aired, I know.
And I feel like before they came up this ramp, that's where you want to do it. You know, take advantage of the choke and the high ground and all of this. Now that the Thors are really getting on that high ground of the main base, I feel like now there's not a great spot to auto turret, because there's no reason that the tier has to like march through those auto turrets.
Yeah.
Where if you're protecting your production, then there's a reason why tier wants to come up, and there's a reason why you want to keep them down. Now it's like there's no benefit of fighting here because they don't have to fight.
And now it's way too many. Like it's once this gets out of control, it gets out of control. Like it's when you're at 6 or 7. Turrets could like be annoying. When there's 14, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the turrets are just gonna get shelled down so quickly,
instantly. Yeah, So this one taking at least a bit of fire, but there's no way to get it on the rest.
So many energy on these Ravens that will just not be used, because if you were gonna do something, that was the time, and now it's pretty much GG. I mean, these Thors are not going anywhere.
They're such elegant units. He wants to come in behind this, but he just can't. Like, there's nothing
Like he's not wrong at this point. You know, like
Yeah.
before, I think he was wrong, but at
Yeah.
this point, it's like, yeah, no, you will get shelled
Yeah.
and just completely obliterated as soon as you try to get within range.
Yeah, they want to follow it, but they're just so tentative on everything. And I think the scans too, constantly on those positions, are like helping hold him off and help. Like if he ever gets the thought of being brave, scanning him
Yeah,
makes
it's
people nervous.
If the
Yeah.
Ravens were ever going to come in, it's probably with the Banshees going in
Yeah.
first.
Yeah,
And the scans
like
keep the
this,
Banshees
yeah.
away, and then it's like,
So yeah, is he gonna? If you get one scan on this, then you could get that wipeout.
yeah, and even the Ravens just
Even-
catching up.
Yeah, that did it. Yeah, and you could see how quickly they just evaporate once things are in. Like you barely saw the Thors turning to shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Clump
it's
light
gone.
units. I mean, they're not quite mutas, but
Yeah,
Banshees are not
Might
much
as
better.
well be.
It's surviving Thors.
yeah,
And yeah, I think this is going to be it'll be a slow kill because Thors do they walk, they don't
Take a
run.
while. Yeah,
Yeah. But I don't think they're going to die anytime soon.
exactly. Moving on down. Yeah, they're kind of in a. I like that they went for like the main, like natural main, wiped out stuff. When they hit resistance, kind of turned away. But now they're just kind of doing this stochastically.
Clean up
From-
crew, yeah.
Yeah, from base to base. It's not relevant. Here come the turrets into at least somewhere.
Yeah.
And yeah, they'll be like, look at how quickly that does delete the base. But just is there a way to stop the main fighting force?
Yeah, well, and like I feel like it's like I think it was game 1 where if CatRock actually did this before, if the Ravens were in Tier's main base dropping turrets the entire time that Tier has been on CatRock's side, then maybe you do get, you know, the production reset, and with the limited amount of bases, you get some, you know, economic issues for Tier, and you can avoid the Thor army. But staying right outside of the Thor army range is like the worst play you can do. You're not taking the fight, but you're also not taking advantage of the Thors being over here. You're really just, you know, it's just idle time, basically.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to see if they would walk into some of the turrets there just to get a sense of the damage and
How that interaction.
Because I think, I think if they could get a good spot to the ideal thing, and I don't think that a bot would ever like think of it, but when he was going into the main, if he dropped behind him on the ramp and just kind of trapped them in.
Oh, you got like a 360 surround or something with the turrets.
Yeah, like then I think you're like they do a lot of DPS, and if you drop a lot, it would be pretty tough to take them out.
Yeah, or I could even see like if there were like the blinders, you know, some of that like blinding grass.
Yeah,
If you were able to like keep the air
Yeah.
out of the way for Tier, and then you just have the ground units and you have auto turrets waiting on one side of it, and the Thors are kind of walking through and unexpectedly taking damage. You know, there's some hope, but out in the middle.
The weird
Not
part
happening.
here though is that he's kind of come back to defend this, and in the meantime, of course, CatRock is still working on many bases, and Tier has lost bases to the turrets. So if like we kind of said there when Tier was going out, like this stab has to kill it. I still think that's true in a way. He's got to actually get on the offense again and take stuff out, because CatRock has now, despite having like the production like completely wiped out, has rebuilt most of it in just other places. So he's got to really go and it's no longer just a slow waltz to kill these bases. He's got to kill them.
Yeah. No, and it's kind of the reason why you want to, well, obviously you want to avoid the big fight if you are CatRock, because you will just lose the big fight.
Yeah.
But also being, you know, harassing Tier's base and stuff should, in theory, pull Tier back or force the all-in from Tier. And so either of those are kind of a good thing for you. And so Tier has chosen now, they were trying to finish it off, and now they've chosen to come back, which, yeah, like you said, just buys CatRock a lot of time. And so if CatRock can still... Now here's where it's getting funny again, because CatRock is now not in Tier's base and is not forcing the retreat or the committal. So I think CatRock just needs to get back in there and do what they have been doing with those auto turrets, getting on those bases.
The Thors don't really appear to know what to do with turrets. And now with the like a single or two Ravens, but certainly not in the back there. Again, he's kind of got to put his foot down and get the killing. Because it does seem like the turrets are doing some damage if he wanders into them, because he doesn't attack them. He just kind of stands there. And so there is some threat here that you mine out, and you haven't killed him.
Yeah, and the fact that, you know,
Like, look at those turrets. Like, he wasn't attacking them. He turned his back to them as if he was shunning them. And then they were still shooting him.
if I ignore my problems long enough,
Yeah.
they will go away.
Yeah. And it's just a matter of he's got so much to chew through here, and he's still got excess resources. He's still repairing, which is good. I think if he wasn't repairing, you'd have a lot of these dead.
Oh yeah, if Tyr wasn't repairing,
Yeah.
yeah, 1,000%. But I hate CatRock waiting here.
Yeah.
Just go in the main, and I mean, you can. It's like free reign, you know, because the entire army of Tyr is right here.
He was doing good there for a while. What's weird though too is Tyr's mining. Like I think he's mining at one, maybe two bases now. The worker count kind of doesn't matter as much, but CatRock still has stronger income. And there is a point at which you would deplete this, but it's just not going fast. It's neither thing is happening fast enough. Neither Tyr is not being whittled down fast enough, but CatRock is also not like being killed fast enough.
Yeah.
He's able to mine all these bases. He's got all the resources in the world. It's just, will any of the resources in the world be enough to take out Tyr? And doesn't look like it, but it looks like he's on like another 20-minute plan.
I was gonna say, if it was like humans, it'd be a lot
Yeah.
easier to like figure out how it's gonna go down. But with the way that it's going, it's very weird. And with the, you know, with CatRock kind of playing into the mining out everything game already, Ravens do that better than anyone because of the energy. It's almost like storm hosts, where like their value is not based on resources, because you gain the energy. So like you're gaining value just by existing, you know, where Thors, you kind of have to sacrifice your body a little bit, get scrappy, and sometimes take some damage. So I feel like CatRock's army composition plays into the way he wants the game to go as well, which is kind of nice. If we do get a 45-minute wonky, you know, hide and seek kind of game.
Yeah. And I don't feel like anyone's hiding. He's just not going.
Yeah,
I think you know where the bases are. He's just kind of not doing it. Like, he keeps going back. Like, he's going all the way back home now. Why?
Yeah, which the first time he did it, I feel like CatRock was actually
he was
doing
attacking
stuff.
him, so it made some sense.
This time it does feel more like you were saying, where the Thors just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
They're getting very confused on I guess the win condition, or the point. What's the point of all of this?
Like what are you up to? Because like CatRock is just replacing all the bases that he's.
And he's got the bank to do it.
Okay.
I mean, he can replace them another, 15 times, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, the real thing to watch, I guess, it will be if Tyr's bank starts to actually deplete. We're supposed still in the thousands.
The income is starting to get a little scary.
He's gonna mine that out. This thing, CatRock now actually dropping just to steal the minerals. That's pretty effective. Yeah, I like that. So yeah, it's just got to be like, are you going to make that push? Like, the first instinct to go in for the kill, go in for production, all that stuff, good. Then, but what's the follow-up to that? Like, and can you do it again? Here's a really good, finally, turret concave, or anti-concave, but with the Cheeto missile as well. Like, a lot
where
of
are these
damage
SCVs? Because now the repair question comes back into play, where in the middle, the Thors were getting repaired. Very beginning, they weren't, and they started getting repaired. And now when they're like the most important things on the game, on the map, there's one shot away from death. and then there are like 12 orange, yellow. You know, it just seems like if you have the bank, you should be repairing these because you're maxed out. These are the Thors that you have to work with, and you have the SCVs that are mining off of like 4 patches, 3.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, CatRock's bank continues to go up. Tiers is whittling, like, quite a bit now. Now, some of that is because as the workers are dying, he's not replacing workers. He's replacing it with more army, which is fine. But then if you don't use that, look at how many of these are now orange or red, like quite low. And he's really not. Every time he encounters the turrets, look at what he's doing. He's trying, I think what's happening here, the ones in range, want to retreat. The ones behind that aren't threatened don't want to, so they don't let them. And they're just holding them in place in front of these turrets, and that may end up being his death in this.
And it's like the Archons, where it's just like, if you have too many of these ginormous units, you're just not going to be able to control them. They're just going to run into each other so hard.
Yeah.
And the actual micro becomes a whole different game than if you have 2 of them. You know, like what you want to do with them changes so much based on the number of them that you have.
Yeah, he just keeps ending up in this position. The SCVs, the remaining ones are dwindling. You don't need many at this point, but yeah, you're gonna have enough. And he's down below 1,000 in the bank at this point.
No mineral income.
Yeah,
plus
and
0.
And there's random tanks that continue to kind of pop out, and every blast they get hits like 2 or 3 Thors, and it just looks like he's going to be whittled to death. There's no bank left. Effectively no mining left.
It looks like CatRock's going to take it, which when Tyr was in CatRock's main and CatRock kept trying to build the the tech labs on the starports, and you could just see like almost like a ghost of the canceled animation and like the, you know, plus the minerals and gas, and it was just going, you know, CatRock was just building as fast as he could, and everything was getting destroyed even faster. It felt like there was no shot for CatRock in this game. But Tyr had to pull back some, and then the Thors just did not know what they wanted to do and how they wanted to finish it. And you can't take forever if CatRock's going to take all of the map and take all of the minerals and all the resources. You can't really play the super long 30-minute, 40-minute game.
Yeah, for sure. Like there's a point where you have to go, and I think he did. Like the initial push out down the middle was the time and place to go for the jugular, but then you have to keep going for it. Like you can't do this retreat. And now we're into these 2 Ravens. If they ever get taken out, he can't replace them. And then there's a whole bunch of Cloak Banshees that could just end it.
Yeah, which when you have like almost no mineral patches, the mules become a lot more valuable. You know, like scans hurt a lot more when you're at 0 with 0 income.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, CatRock's still not really at the mined out point. I think he's got 3 bases that are still functional. He's going in for like this big push again, and once again in this position. I don't think he can really be stopped, but he's got to go. Like, it's not 100% closed door. He can still go, but he's got to really, really go.
Yeah, I mean, even at this point, I feel like the Thor count has already been dwindled an okay amount, and I'm starting to be afraid even in a straight up engagement, which CatRock never has to take.
Yeah, I don't think he will.
It looks scary, even if it was like, all right, we both have to fight.
Yeah,
I'm not as nearly as afraid for CatRock as I was when it was all green Thors and plus a few extra. Now it's almost no green Thors.
Yeah,
or almost all at least like a quarter health gone, if not more.
Yeah, down to 11 of them. We were at like 16 like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, and of the 11, I mean, 2 of them I could take down.
Yeah,
you know, I could punch them down.
Jump on them. Yeah. And he keeps, and there's tons of planetaries. Like even if you just left him now, he might die to planetaries trying to
if you're not repairing, like,
yeah.
These don't have infinite firepower. These will just slowly die to walking into, you know, tanks or walking into planetary fortresses.
Yeah.
The 1 Banshee.
Yeah, he's getting some of that stuff, but it's just not. Yeah, I don't know. Splitting them up seems to actually be fine, but it's just because he's not engaging. Like obviously, that's the time he could just jump on it and wipe these out. But yeah, we're down to 8 Thors now. They just are not acknowledging the turrets, or at least the team isn't. That tank really helped. Everything's quite low.
And even this one cyclone will just do so much damage.
Yeah. If he can do I've seen this happen before in the first attack. He's doing that like canceling.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
It's infinite like cancels, and it looks so bad for CatRock, but it just not bad enough.
6 Thors left, and I'd say 4 Thors left with the combined health of 1.
Yeah, seriously.
At this point.
And I feel like the first good push into the main.
Yeah.
When the Thors went back, they left this entire left side of supply depots.
Yeah. Totally.
I don't know how much they actually were able to reset CatRock's supply limit, because most of the Ravens never actually, engaged and died. But man, killing 15 depots would feel pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So there we go. He's going to clean them off, and CatRock will advance in a wild comeback, endurance-based comeback. And yeah, you could just kind of see it happen there. Went for the jugular and then kind of really just pulled back, went defensive, and then got whittled away very slowly. Had all the material to do it, but yeah, you start playing whack-a-mole on like 12 bases and then stop playing whack-a-mole and try and defend, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, and it's such a weird feeling. I talked about how sometimes you kind of build comps that are looking to get into that kind of death ball. Once I max out, this will just be my army.
Yeah.
But so oftentimes with that death ball army, the maneuverability is so limited because you have such strong, tanky, crazy units that it's really a struggle to, especially the way that CatRock expands and just takes over the entire map, to figure out the right pathing of how you want to kill everything and how you want to keep your army together, but also defend at home, but also,
So here's the example. The front guys want to turn around. The ones in the back want to push forward, so they won't let them turn around. So they end up just standing in the turret fire the entire time.
Yeah, the weak ones get hit, and the healthy ones can't fire, and it's just the worst of both worlds.
Yeah. Yeah, if they retreated, they would have been fine. If they walked in and attacked, they might have been fine. But standing and doing nothing is the worst case of both. And then I think we got the last Thor dying there, and the comeback is complete.
Yeah, crazy game. I definitely could see it going both ways multiple times. It does seem like the win condition is so hard to see if you're not a person that is understanding the full scope of what's going on.
Yeah.
And even though CatRock didn't play it how I would hope that they played, like the harassment wasn't quite as gnarly as it could have been, or the avoiding of the Thors isn't as abusive as it could have been. It was just enough to hold on, keep going, take advantage of you're using energy, not units. The lack of repair was also huge from tier side. But yeah, man, crazy set.
Yeah, definitely. So, so I think Tier was our reigning champion. CatRock's taken him out, and we'll go on to the finals next weekend. And there you go. So we saw 2 matches, even though we were only supposed to see 1 so far. But I'm glad that we at least got to fix the mistake of misattribution of who crashed when or why, and get to see CatRock play Micro Machine and carry on. Certainly well deserved. I think we're going to take a 5-minute break. That's just like game 1, and we're already past when we're usually done. So, but I think these next ones might be quicker.
I'm hoping the probe pulls,
Yeah. So
some flower builds and
let's see what happens. So hop into a 5-minute break, and we'll be back with Zozo and BenBot BC. Hello. We are back here for the second match of our semifinals. And these ones are probably destined to be a bit shorter.
Thank God for Protoss.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Thank God for cheesy Protoss more than anything.
Is there any other kind? Come
Yeah,
on.
no, exactly. That's
Protoss
how,
plays macro, that's cheese. Protoss rushes, that's
yeah,
cheese.
exactly. I mean, yeah, if you're the only one that's allowed to use lasers to begin with, that's unfair. Everyone else is like using just old school. We have guns now. We would
Yeah.
lose to the laser people. Here is Zozo, an ELO of 1874, win rate of 48.69%, and his poster there is his icon probes killing a Nexus. He's evolved a little bit into stuff like the Zealot Rush. Don't know exactly what we're going to get today. Particularly against the Terrans, something like a Zealot Rush, often not super as effective, but we'll see what the plan is.
Yeah, if you can get some cannons with it,
Yeah.
there's some there's a shot, but yeah, just Zealots against Marines feels pretty bad most of the time.
And Benbot here at a ELO of 1997 and a win rate of 64. He tends to be either, I think there's a couple situations. He can either go and do his own proxy and attempt to bunker contain his opponent. If he's programmed in playing this opponent at all, he probably won't do that. And he can play sometimes where he bunkers on his own side and kind of defends there. The question is, I don't know how quickly he does that. He drifts to it,
Yeah.
but it's not like a rushed out thing. So if he gets attacked prior to that, I don't really know what some of Benbot's cheese defense is going to be like.
Yeah. Oh, and it's kind of like what I was talking about with the building the missile turrets. If they don't come into play, it kind of hurts to build them.
Yeah.
Building that bunker, the earlier you build it, the more it hurts you.
Yeah.
And so you really don't want to assume that someone's going to do a flower build and the first 3 zealots are going to be across the map at, a minute or something. And so we'll see exactly the timing that Benbot kind of puts down those bunkers and which side of the map they'll be on.
Indeed.
But it looks like we're ready to go right now.
We're ready. I think we're ready. Let's jump into it.
Zozo. Benbot BC.
All right, first probe on the map, first pylon on the map. Looking pretty flowery to me.
Yeah, it is shaping up in that seeming direction. And yeah, we'll see. So Benbot obviously didn't send anything out. The distance here, not too far. That's been one thing that's occasionally thrown Zozo off, is it'll proxy it, but then just somewhere. So
Yeah.
adding the forge with this one here as well. But yeah, if he proxies too far away, then it's just kind of like you're somewhere, and it takes too long.
Yeah, the depot going in a great place where a bunker could go, which I thought for a second maybe it was. So yeah, first bunker down to try to kind of block that lower ramp, but the main ramp is going to be completely open, which could be pretty good news for Zozo.
Yeah, and then we almost never see this get up, but the attempt to cannon rush may be part of it too. But he will send enough workers, I think, to shut this down.
Yeah, well, it's also always so weird, if humans that do this kind of play, it's always 2 gateway with the forge.
Yeah.
So that you really have the minerals to get up a pylon wall, or the cannon rush is much more of the focus. Where it does seem like Zozo, the zealots are the focus, and then the cannon rush is it'd be great, but I don't, that's not really the game plan. The game plan's mostly let's get like 6 zealots out and try to break in.
So it looks like he's got what he needs. We got a couple of Marines out, a full wall, and a bunker. And the Zealots have not left their little home yet. They do tend to group up to like 6 before they go. But yeah, that just means that there's going to be like more in the bunker.
All I really want that worker to die so that
Yeah.
Zealots aren't chasing that while they're trying to engage.
Yeah.
Because I could see that being a big problem.
Yeah. The surface area here only 3 should be able to, but they're kind of not.
Well, I feel like they're trying to find more.
Yeah.
And because they're doing that, it's really now it's
Yeah.
like 2 getting hit at the same time. It's and with the SCVs down for a split second, it looked like they were going to maybe be able to out DPS it before the SCVs came to the low ground.
Yeah.
But at this point, it seems
just a
pretty
shredder
done.
here, and
even with the cojones to really push out with these Marines.
yeah, he's gonna go. Is he gonna finish him off? Finish him off. No. And yeah, I think we've learned before too that there's no real off position on this. That there's no transition. There's no.
There's no like macro. Yeah.
Anything like that. Marines. He designed it enough that at least 4 live to get in the bunker again.
The SCVs did go back up.
So,
they all went back up. So this could be a dead bunker. Oh my god, they keep moving.
Yeah, if they didn't move,
Just
that was
swipe.
if they didn't move, that was a dead bunker.
And it kind of happened the first time too. Of just like the SCVs are going to take a little while to get there, but the Zealots so badly want the full surface area on that bunker.
Yeah.
But the movement just, if you're moving, you're not swiping, and that just took all the wind out of the sails of this this push. And now the Zealots are going to have to, re-stack up again, but now the Marine count is getting kind of out of hand. The natural is, going up for Benbot, and it doesn't get better from here for Zozo.
No, yeah, I think they'll just kind of camp on this until they eventually kill the pylon, and then end it.
Yeah, a little bit faster than our last set.
Yeah,
at least game 1.
Does go for the pylon first too, taking it out.
Very smart.
Then it'll be how long does it take for Benbot to actually go on the offensive? But he has made some 1 tank pushes before to just kind of poke. Yeah, he'll go with 2.
The Marines are going,
and that should do it then.
Okay, so there is a macro switch once all the gateways are taken out.
we have seen that part. Yeah, if it completely gets destroyed, he'll switch into something else, but he will not do it, no matter how dire the situation.
If a Zealot's being produced on the other side, nothing else is happening at home.
Yeah.
And I love this pylon focus. Even when the Stalker is out, it was still a little bit of a pylon focus, which in this kind of scrappy game, getting like supply blocks or depowering stuff when there's only, so many buildings and stuff on the map actually is kind of huge. So I kind of like that. When we did get to BC, I was wondering if the BC was going to be the one to clear out the base.
We don't often get to see that anymore because he's usually like engaged in something else, so he never actually teleports over the first one. But now that's what he usually likes to do. That's what he was built on: rushing to BC and teleporting to it.
Yeah, this will just be the cleanup. 3 BCs, going to be plenty for a gateway-based Protoss.
There we go. There we go. And yeah, there's the Marines jumping on everything there. It would be neat to see again how close he came to taking out that bunker.
Both times.
Yeah.
Both times.
So, that's another one that I always say, like distance, like map location, like whatever, could make a difference. If the SCVs are half a second slower to get down, does it die?
Yeah, the distance from the main to the natural, the distance from like the proxy to the natural. Yeah, there's so many different, really small things that, and just the effective surface area, both for the worker side and for the Zealot side.
Yeah,
there's just a lot of different, slight calculations that could make it a little bit better or a little bit worse. But man, it felt so close.
Yeah,
bunker.
Yeah, it did. Because once you get through, if you get through that and you've got like 4 Zealots, like you can be kited a bit, but it's once they get on top of you and you're adding more and they're not adding, like it's not like he had 4 barracks.
Yeah.
So you've got like 3 Zealots coming out for every Marine he's got coming out. It's
and if the SCVs are kind of around the bunker, then the 4 Marines that are in the bunker kind of get trapped, body blocked, and the Zealots may actually be able to get a good fight.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so it looks like we're ready to hop into game number 2, see if we get some different.
Benbot BC. Zozo.
I think again we're getting
First
that
pylon.
cannon. Yeah, the cannon. Yeah, he pulled a lot to deal with that because I think he's gone to here. So detecting that even before the gateways actually get up.
For those who don't know, that is why the flower build is called a flower build, and why
Yeah.
you build the pylon like that
Yeah.
is so that if you get scouted, the SCVs cannot just jump on that one
Yeah.
pylon powering everything.
Yeah.
But the information is definitely immediately in Benbot's hands, and bunker's coming down. First pylon gets taken down, and the first cannon gets canceled as well. Oh,
So-
nice surround too.
Yeah, good one. Yeah, because otherwise he would have gone right for that Marine. But a lot of SCVs are going to die here, and the bunker itself is not actually up yet. And when it will be, there's only going to be a couple in it. And if he ends up fighting out here, then that's
Bunker
not,
doesn't matter. Yeah.
yeah, that's not where he wants to be. But they're doing a really good job pulling back the SCVs, kept them alive. And the Zealots are not aggressive enough. Like, the Zealots have to come out and attack. And,
Yeah.
And they're not really.
It's a weird balance of
Yeah.
So we love the idea of pooling units for a second, so you're not trickling in one at a time, because trickling in kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But also, when you're doing a rush like this, the first zealot, 2 zealots, 3 zealots are the ones that have the most impact. That's when they have Benbot has the least amount of Marines, has to pull the most amount of workers to stop it. So it is a weird kind of decision of when you want to send it, because saving up 6 zealots, that army does feel very strong, but then
Yeah.
you're going into a full wall, where the fact that these first couple zealots were actually they were aggressed very early on, so they actually went out and tried to fight way faster than they did last game. The amount of SCV damage was actually a lot more significant.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think here too, if he had just gone like with these individual ones coming out, if they just started chasing a Marine, then at least buys time for the second one, third one to come out. But then just kind of retreating and allowing full fire, you never get more than one out again.
Yeah, or even so chasing Marines, I think eventually you will just like catch up and slowly
Yeah.
dwindle down the Marines, which is sick. But even sending one just straight to the main, so
Yeah.
that the Marines
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to go back to
Do
the main,
something.
or you have to try to fight it with SCVs,
Yeah.
just changes the dynamic a lot, and it's taking advantage of the timing where the wall is not finished.
Yeah.
Where the first 3 zealots are the only time you're going to be able to do that. After that, you're going to have a wall and you're going to have a bunker that you have to get through. So yeah, the timing. Although I love the pooling of units in general, because
Yeah.
we've seen so many Zergling attacks that are just one Zergling at a time and it looks terrible. The timing is also a huge factor that you have to
Yeah.
consider, and this one almost accidentally allowed the Zealots to get fighting faster, and it looked a lot better than last game. But still, just not going to be enough. And once that first pylon's taken down and depowers the first 3 gateways,
Yeah.
it's just such a time suck to try to get all the gateways back at home, a cyber core up, and anything else you're going to try to do to hold.
There's our BC helper. In from the
Yamada
back.
cannon on the way,
Yeah.
just in case.
Yeah, here, like, it's a good start. It had the rest of them just kind of join this, like, but that one retreating. Had that
Yeah.
one just continued, and like you said, just run past, go into the main, and then get the others to help you after, is probably the way to go. And then this guy just popping out, just standing there.
Yeah, the bottom left.
yeah.
It's really it is a hard balance of pooling and sending with the timing, but
Yeah.
the wall not being up is such a huge window. I mean, not the window isn't large in the fact that it doesn't take that long for it to close.
Yeah.
But the opportunity that it has open is ginormous.
Yeah.
Of being able to get zealots in the mineral line on top of the racks, just you can be so much more annoying when you're not zoned out and only being able to fight in one little choke area.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely there. It's all about creating space, buying time. And we see too the idea that happens in a lot of games where it ends up being the main base, but in this case too, where you've got a proxy, is it makes sense to retreat from certain situations, but if people are sitting in your retreaty zone,
Yeah,
then you can't continue to retreat while they're shooting you. Like there has to be, if you're coding in anything that's like a retreat thing, there has to be an abort to the retreat.
yeah,
There
where
has to be a you can't do it here.
you have to fight at a certain point,
Yeah,
or else
yeah.
the game is going to be over.
Yeah,
The win
it's over
condition
anyway.
is losing your
Yeah,
buildings, so
yeah.
you might as well defend them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
So
see if this game is any different. Game 3 is ready. Good luck, Zozo.
Zozo. BenBot BC.
All right, you know what it is.
yeah. So we get the bunker here, but we've got this as a situation. This time, the probe did get in. This time, it has not been seen. This has been seen, this stuff. But
Yeah.
that's kind of fine more.
And it's almost better.
Yeah.
This has forced the Zealots to fight faster and get SCV kills quicker than they usually would.
Yeah. Now, I don't like the probe leaving.
Yeah, the cannon seemed like it was going to go up before the probe left.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Oh, but this fight's
but
amazing.
this is good.
That's awesome.
And if he's pulled distracted by the cannon, which is effectively meaningless, but if he's distracted by this, which is of no threat or anything.
Oh, and the switch on the pylon
Yeah,
actually is
yeah.
terrible right now.
Yeah.
It's really good in certain situations, but the when it's not good, it's really not good.
Yeah.
And that was almost the worst deviation of damage that you could have had.
Yeah. And now we are going to get this group of zealots coming in. Are they going to ignore the bunker? They're going to go, but that's fine. I think that's actually, in this case, just going to let them group up 3 more and then go.
Yeah, if there was a wall on the ramp, I would have hated it.
Yeah.
But because there's no timer on when they can actually get into the main base,
Yeah.
clean the bunker up, make it easier to get everyone else in.
All right. Now
I'm cool with that.
Let's see if they can fight effectively. I like one going after the constructing one there.
Yeah, yeah. Stop the production when you can.
Yeah.
And I mean, this looks like a Zozo win.
Yeah. So just getting that, and he also didn't have like the wall, like him detecting that and sending a bunch of SCVs turned out to be bad, because then he never completed a wall either, and so even if the cannon hadn't got there, they might have done better.
Yeah, I think BenBot almost has to scout the pro building the cannon, but not scout the actual flower.
Yeah.
Because when he scouts the flower, the Zealots do way better and they get in fast.
Yeah.
And then when he scouts the cannon, it gets completely taken down.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the best case scenario for Zozo. And it's still, well, I want to say it felt close, but the ending just doesn't look close at all. You know, it turns into such a one-sided game, but
yeah, it's what changes the direction of things. Had he, and like you said, had he not switched fire onto the pylon, then that's kind of weird. The cannon would have died. So, and then he can maybe rush those 2 back at the bunker and be fine. But yeah, whatever. Interesting. But yeah, again, there's the map difference. The fact that the ramp is way out and the mineral line is way in the back and you can't see it and whatever. It shows that there's a lot of potential to that probe, but the probe's behavior is almost never good. And why he revealed himself.
Well, I feel like it's partially because it's like Zozo's main idea is not to cannon rush.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if you would have 2 probes come down. Because losing the 1 probe if you actually want cannons up should not just end the game, you know?
Yeah.
And then the probe decision making and hiding and not hiding and I don't even know where it was going.
I don't know why he'd leave, because he's done that multiple times. He leaves and then the idea is he'll go back later, but where are you going? It's like, I'm going to go wait outside the base until you need me.
Yeah. No, away from the cannon defensive structure.
Wait by the cannon that's saving your life. Like, I'm going to go wander by this bunker. Anyway, game number 4 coming up. Let's see.
Benbot BC. Zozo.
Feel like we need to just skip the introductions with these guys because it's
Yeah. This
game-
part's pretty important.
yeah,
Yeah.
game's already like over by the time we get to it. But yeah, so the flower's been found. Those have obviously been found. As he builds in like plain sight on most of the maps. What if he
Yeah.
just put the pylon behind the mineral line, not in plain sight, from the beginning? Like
Yeah. Or
that would be nice.
you know what I kind of love? Print F used to build the 2-gate. It was the 2-gate forge, but in the natural, so that he could
Yeah.
use that as the cannon place, and the zealots reinforcing would be so much faster. You know, if you're not
Yeah.
going to hide it,
Yeah.
then just fully not hide it. You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
use it to your
exactly.
advantage.
Yeah.
But yeah, the half and half of like not hiding it, but not having it be in like a good position
Yeah.
feels a little funky. All right, and the zealots are going to be try to be pulled a little bit, or pooled a little bit, which usually does not go that well. But the wall has not been built at all.
Yeah, and so he will get a good surround on this. It almost died before. It'll go down pretty quick.
I
if
think
they
it'll
don't get
almost
there in time.
definitely die. Yeah.
He almost tried to not kill it at the last second there and move towards the SCVs, but gets it, and he may overwhelm here now.
Yeah, I mean the lack of wall on the natural and by the bunker is pretty devastating.
Yeah.
And I think this will just probably
Yeah.
go to Zozo, which I feel like this is every set of Zozo. I keep
Yeah.
not thinking Zozo is still in the tournament because every set looks like he could, you know, like
Yeah.
it looks so bad, and then a few things change a little bit, and then they end up winning game 5 or game 3 or whatever. But I think this is good for Zozo. We do have a factory with a tech lab.
It's over. There's only 3 workers. So
Oh, I didn't look at the workers.
yeah. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like he's good at blocking and like using these SCVs, but you can't use all 20 of them.
Yeah.
you gotta find a way to do something else, and yeah, he just lost everything. So eventually, you can't build anymore.
And I'm just so curious of what decides where to build the supply depots.
Yeah,
Because I feel like the first 2 games, every time the supply, even before the bunker was down, the supply depots were getting that wall.
yeah.
And this time it's like 3 are in the main.
I think 2. So 2 of the maps, these last 2, have been like wider, open, flat ground.
Yeah.
And then he's been more likely to wall off the upper ramp, narrower.
But he doesn't even wall the
yeah
main
the
ever.
main, yeah.
Like it's either walling the natural or it's like mineral line, reaper wall, scouter, bunker. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
almost no value from the depot placements.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it's weird that you just kind of don't do either. But yeah, there you go. So we'll see what's I'm trying to think what map is left, and I think it's map dependent. It's gonna kind of come if you can find a good place for the pylon and cannon, then that's cool. If it's wide open natural, I think he probably gets overwhelmed, but we'll
If there's no natural wall, I think Zozo wins.
yeah.
That's my bet.
I agree.
Depot is in the wall.
Yeah.
On the lower ground, on the natural, I think it's
Then he
done.
probably holds. Yeah.
We'll see. It's game 5.
Yep.
Zozo. Benbot BC.
All right, we're in this one a little bit earlier.
So first depot is behind the mineral line. So that's telling. This location is probably a less likely to be scouted location. he's got a fairly wide flat thing to this. We're rewinding a little. And
yeah, the natural opening is
Yeah.
flat. It's not a high ground, low ground situation.
yeah. So we'll see. It's also one of the ones that, depending where he chooses to put things, he could actually put a pylon behind the middle line in a place that won't be immediately seen.
Yeah, the cannon rush pylon. Yeah.
Yeah. Although the probe itself will be seen, and then
And just bring him straight to the.
and just be like, you saw me, but just in case you didn't see this, come look over here.
It's
And-
really the
oh,
probe
okay.
micro that is
Yeah.
like devastating. a lot
Oh,
of
this
the
is
time.
interesting. Double bunker.
I think it was because the probe was blocking the first bunker
Yeah.
for like a
Yeah.
0.01 seconds.
Yeah.
So it triggered another bunker to be put down, but as that was being put down, the first bunker was able to, so it's a kind of weird interaction there, which this makes it more as if Benbot put a depot on the ground. Even though he didn't,
Yeah.
this is a lot more wall-like.
Oh, for sure. It'll
Um,
make it so that even if he gets through the first one, the SCVs will be there for the second one.
Yeah, although
So-
the first bunker, it almost like, it makes the SCV side terrible for
Harder.
surface area.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it kind of works against
Oh.
him, but
He's diversifying the Marines. That helps.
it does help.
Yeah,
No matter which one you choose, you are going to be getting shot at
Yeah.
the entire time.
exactly. Schrodinger's bunker. So yeah,
But it's
let's
two
see.
half cats or something.
Yeah, exactly. You have cats, both have eaten poison. You're fine.
All right, and the zealots are pulled a little bit, which I still have mixed feelings about. Because like
Yeah.
at this point,
Yeah,
just send them to the main. Like you don't even have to fight the bunkers. If you get 6, fight the bunkers. If you have 2, who
Yeah.
cares, dude? Just go to the main. Be annoying. Don't let them mine minerals
No.
for free.
Oh, this would be a shame if seeing just because remember they don't know what's in a bunker, so when they
Yeah.
see 2 bunkers, they're treating it as if it's 2 full bunkers.
All right, we're gonna need 14 zealots to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So if it's made that assessment, then this could be
It could be 2 hellbats
Yeah,
in there.
yeah. It could be a big problem. So he's going to go with this, but it may end up working better that he grouped up because he killed them quicker.
And the
So-
SCVs are only reactive.
Yeah.
They do not anticipate the zealots, even though Benbot obviously knows it's coming.
Yeah.
They have no anticipation. Zealots are getting okay damage. I mean, if they focus the
Yeah.
SCVs,
Yeah, which
That's
they are
kinda
kind of
fine.
because they're repairing. They got Benbot's side got lucky because one SCV was already there repairing. Okay, now they've got the good surround. It's going to take a while
Stop
for them to get on
microing.
it. Yeah,
just
Yeah.
swipe.
yeah, just did things. But yeah,
Although-
he's killing a lot of workers.
Yeah, it's getting to the point of last game where I Benbot finally,
Yeah.
what's it called? He finally got through it
Work
all.
through. Yeah,
But then he has 3 workers left, and it doesn't matter.
that's it. Like this is the type of situation where you could then potentially transition to a normal game, knowing that you did so much damage.
yeah.
But he's not going to. So
At home
Yeah.
there is at least some pylon, but I guess that's
yeah, I
always where
think
he
he
builds
usually
pylons.
does that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not gateways
So
or
now,
cyber.
actually, the faster this gets killed,
the better it is for Zozo. Yeah.
Yeah, because if Zozo just now goes into a normal, goes up to carrier or something, that would be wild. But he's done enough economic damage. Had he abandoned it immediately, then I think he'd be ahead.
Yeah. Having the 9 workers to 16 workers,
Yeah,
especially if Benbot doesn't immediately go counterattack, which it looks like
Yeah.
he likes to clean up every single gateway before
Yeah.
moving across.
yeah.
Cancel
got
those
time.
zealots. Get a cyber core up.
yeah, he waits. If he transition even right now that he's lost it, but he waits till all this dies to transition.
Yeah. Well, because he also has 1,000 mineral. You could have a natural and
Yeah.
a cannon in your natural.
Yeah, yeah,
Use the
Yeah.
forge while it's up to transition. If you're
Yeah.
transitioning once the forge is down,
So
you
there's
don't
a-
have the static defense, and then
His plan B is so elaborate.
and it's honestly so
once it
good
kicks in,
once
yeah.
yeah.
Once it kicks in, it's fine. And he even tends to hold off the original stuff. Had he just done it like a minute earlier, he
It-
could have done it 3 minutes earlier.
It should
but
be
had
that
he-
pylon.
Yeah.
Put that pylon on a control group, that first of the flower,
Yeah.
and then when that control group is gone, power up. Then it's your time
Yeah.
to just
Yeah.
Get shit
Because his
out.
response is this, like, I'm going to build 7 gateways. Like, yeah. Oh well. But yeah, so BenBot will hold this whole thing. But yeah, that was really close.
Yeah,
That
well,
was very close at the end. Had he killed, like, it was basically one SCV that was preventing the bunker from going down the whole time, and he kept adding more, adding more. He didn't have more after that. Like, yeah, if even if the 2 zealots that ended up like retreating back home, if they had gone with like the next 3 zealots, that would have been it. But they played scared and all that stuff.
yeah. Or if you do get one cycle off those 7 gateways at home,
Yeah,
like if you have 7 zealots and then the reinforcements are coming, 13 zealots probably does clean that up.
Yeah.
You know that
Oh, yeah,
much
for
many
sure.
Marines.
Yeah,
It's just the timing.
Yeah, if you just went like, I think the trigger of like, when is this failed? Since when his pylon dies, he doesn't ever attempt to build a new one. That should be your
Yeah,
right. 'Cause
100%.
You're not going to condition from there. Like, but he waits till the 3 gateways die, and then he goes. But
Which, especially if you're canceling the 3 zealots, like
yeah,
you just have so many minerals to play with. And
yeah,
like I said, having the forge alive, even if it dies later, getting a few cannons at your
Yeah.
base when you know that
yeah.
like
He's
they are
coming,
going to counterattack,
Yeah.
can make such a difference. But
Yeah.
I feel like BenBot from the first 2 games, I felt like BenBot should have won. And if Zozo won, it would have been another one of those like, man, Zozo pulled this out of his, hat
Yeah.
and maybe shouldn't have won, but got away with murder.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Indeed. So we're gonna get a CatRock
takes it.
BenBot final, and yes, we did. We played the maximum number of games that we could play today. We did the best of 3, best of 5, best of 5 to 3, 5, and 5 games.
Dang.
Yeah.
Working overtime
Indeed.
to bring you people the greatest bot matches that the world has to offer.
Mm-hmm. So we are setting up for next week's final. It will be on Saturday, May 18th at 12:30. And look out for details. There should be stuff in the description of this for how to go to ProBotsAI.com if you want to support things, if you want to join as a member, if you want to do some of your try out some of this coding, and also if you want to participate as a human player against the bots. That will be up linked somewhere, probably also below, to download the client to be able to do that, and then submit your replays, and then we'll choose some of the good ones to do our human versus bots showcase next week before the finals.
Should be very exciting stuff. ProBotsAI.com is where you can, pretty much find all the information regarding us. Quick shout out to AIArena.net, which is where all these bots are actually located and hosted up, and the ladder is. But yeah, I think finals is gonna be sweet. I know we've had BenBot BC and CatRock play before. I think it was like a game 3, pretty close, 20-minute games.
They won't be quick. That's for sure.
Yeah.
They won't be quick. But they both had a chance to update since they've last played. So we'll see.
Expect Air Terran for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. So thanks for joining us. If you haven't yet, hit a like on this. Helps out for people that tune in later. And thanks, Banyushi. And thanks for everyone joining in. And we'll see the Terran Ditto next week.
Big match for all the marbles.
Yeah.
Every marble is on the line next Saturday, May 18th.
Yeah.
12:30 EST. Be there.
Or be square.